Chapter 1534. Seeing that after a period of time, the four super strong source spirits would dissipate, the Dai family was also anxious, which was why they put on such a show. They suppressed Song Yin so that they could lure Wang Xing out and steal his soul. To convince Song Lian and Song Yin, the Dai family had to pay a price and make some promises. For example, they couldn't harm Wang Sheng's life or his limbs. Song Yin nodded in return. Song Yin had already made up her mind. As long as Wang Sheng could return to her in one piece, she didn't care even if Wang Sheng became a cripple. She was willing to take care of him. As for how the Dai family convinced Gan Qingchuan, nobody knew. Song Lian, Dai Hao, and Gan Qingchuan heaved a sigh of relief after Wang Sheng surrendered. They didn't have to worry about breaking their promise. Dai Xiao was still insisting over the past few days. At the same time, he was waiting for Dai Sheng to recover before he could carry out the plan. We can't wait any longer. After Dai Hao understood Dai Xiao's situation, he finally made a decision. He immediately started the process of devouring Wang Sheng's soul. Nobody objected. Dai Hao was the most senior elder in the Dai family, and even Dai Xiao and the Great Elder had nodded their heads. Who could stop this? Wang Sheng was very cooperative. After a few leisurely days, he was brought in front of Dai Xiao. He even smiled and greeted him. He didn't seem afraid of being trampled on by the Dai family's mortal enemy. They were still in the secret room in the courtyard. The Dai family had already finished forging the tools for the ritual. Wang Sheng and Dai Xiao were lying on the long bed. They were fixed to the two sides of the bed. Their heads were facing each other, and their Baihui acupoints were touching. They were restrained, and neither of them could leave. What surprised Wang Sheng was that Dai Xiao was also shackled, and his spiritual energy was restricted. However, after seeing this, Wang Sheng was even more certain that Dai Xiao was after his soul. He could not help but sneer in his heart. Tao Dai had already begun to drool, waiting for the new tonic to come to his door. The devouring was initiated by Dai Xiao when his consciousness entered his soul origin space through a special array formation. Wang Xing's consciousness also entered Wang Sheng's soul origin space. The two source spirit spaces seemed to be forcefully connected together. It wasn't a fusion, but rather it was tightly attached to each other. The boundary between the two gradually melted at the point of connection, as if they had truly become one. As soon as he entered the origin spirit space, Wang Sheng discovered that there were more than two origin spirits in the two origin spirit spaces. Between Wang Sheng and Dai Xiao's source spirits, there were four abnormally powerful source spirits. A snake, a tiger, a great pung, and a giant tortoise. These four source spirits were lying in the connection between their source spirit spaces, not moving at all. Dai Xiao actually had 5 source spirits? Wang Sheng was taken aback. This was something he hadn't expected. However, in the next moment, Wang Sheng discovered that Dai Xiao's source spirit had already rushed over to his side. Just as he was about to let the Tao Ye's avatar devour it, Wang Sheng suddenly discovered that Dai Xiao's source spirit could not rush over at all. It was firmly blocked by the 4 source spirits. Unless it devoured the 4 source spirits, it was completely unable to approach Wang Sheng's source spirit space. Then Dai Xiao's source spirit suddenly became a little angry. It immediately rushed in front of the snake closest to him and wantonly bit it. When Dai Xiao's source spirit made a move, the snake immediately counterattacked. It instantly wrapped around Dai Xiao's source spirit and began to struggle. Wang Sheng had some doubts before, but now that he saw this scene, he immediately understood everything. The Dai family was really vicious. These 4 source spirits were obviously higher than the legend rank. Where did they come from? Among the land's monstrous beasts, besides heavy snow, Wang Sheng had not seen a monstrous beast that could break through to the legend realm. These 4 source spirits were of such a high level. Moreover, there were 4 of them. Other than the 4 unlucky fellows that were killed by the ancestors, who else could it be? So it was like this. Wang Sheng gave a cold laugh. Looking at Dai Xiao's appearance, he couldn't eat 4 strong source spirits, so he wanted to make up for his innate defect. 4 13-stage realm source spirits, they were good supplements. Placed in front of him, How could Wang Sheng not want them? With a thought, the Taotai directly opened its large mouth and sucked in the direction of the four source spirits. With the experience of swallowing the king cuttlefish source spirit of the 14-stage realm, these four 13-stage realm small source spirits were not a problem at all. The big Taotai just sucked in with its large mouth, and countless fragments that could not be seen with the naked eye separated from the four source spirits and entered the big Tao Ye's bloody mouth. That was a real bloody mouth. As long as Wang Sheng was willing, the big Tao Ye's mouth could fill the entire source spirit space without a problem. However, Wang Sheng wanted to leave Dai Xiao with a little memory, so he maintained his current posture. He absorbed the essence of the four original souls bit by bit. At the very least, he had to leave some soup for Dai Xiao. Otherwise, his original soul would look too skinny and not nourishing enough. Dai Xiao suddenly discovered that the pressure on her body had been greatly reduced. Although she was still in extreme pain, she could no longer bite off a small piece of meat with great difficulty. Her source spirit could bite off a large piece of meat with a single bite. The comfort of swallowing the source spirit immediately suppressed the pain of being bitten by the source spirit. But before Dai Xiao could carefully taste anything, Wang Sheng and Dai Xiao's source spirit space suddenly separated. Dai Xiao knew that the point of contact between him and Wang Sheng's head had been separated. However, he did not panic. After completely swallowing the large piece of the source spirit's mouth, he continued to try swallowing four source spirits at once before he opened his eyes. Dai Hao was very nervous as he looked at Dai Xiao. Wang Sheng had already slowly opened his eyes and was lying comfortably as he looked at Dai Hao and the Great Elder. However, the two of them could not be bothered with Wang Sheng and were only looking at Dai Xiao. Dai Xiao's expression was not right from the start. Of course, it was not particularly wrong. She still looked like she was in pain, but there seemed to be some changes in the middle. That was why the two of them immediately separated Wang Sheng and Dai Xiao. Dai Xiao's painful state lasted for a period of time before he opened his eyes again. Only then did Dai Hao and the Great Elder relax. After Wang Sheng was sent out, only the three of them were left in the secret room. Dai Xiao then expressed his feelings. Are you saying that you can greatly increase the efficiency of swallowing four source spirits even before your source spirits come into contact? Dai Hao was a little surprised. He did not expect the effects to be so good. He was a little confused as he asked, then why is he still in so much pain? The Chongqing Duke is very calm. The pressure is all on me. Of course he's calm. Dai Xiao gave a dissatisfied snort and took all the credit for herself. It seems like the old ancestor's guess is correct. Our source spirits come from the same source, and just being close to each other has greatly increased my source spirit's swallowing power. Don't worry, Elder. I can still endure this little bit of pain. We'll deal with Wang Sheng after we've dealt with those four. Chapter 1535. Whether it was Dai Hao, Dai Xiao, or the Great Elder, they all felt that Dai Xiao was right. No matter how powerful Wang Sheng was, he couldn't possibly be unaffected by the backlash of 4-stage, 13 origin souls, right? This could only mean one thing, and that was that Dai Xiao had suffered the majority of the soul backlash, which made sense. As for what Wang Sheng had done, it wasn't important. Dai Xiao didn't see it. Even if she did, it wouldn't matter. Wang Sheng's Tao Dai only opened its mouth and inhaled. It looked like an ordinary breath. Perhaps it was even a yawn. What did that have to do with the four supreme origin souls being absorbed? Therefore, it could only be said that Dai Xiao's origin soul's devouring ability became stronger after the two origin souls came into contact. Other than that, there was no other explanation. If I continue to devour at this speed, I don't have to completely suppress my spirit qi anymore. Dai Xiao suddenly thought of something and said to Patriarch Dai Hao, without the support of spirit qi, those four origin souls are very weak. If I release spirit qi, they can become stronger. To me, there will be more benefits. The more complete the origin soul was, the more benefits Dai Xiao would gain from devouring it. He had already verified this when he devoured hundreds of origin souls. Since his devouring speed had recovered, why not fight for more benefits? Dai Hao was more cautious. After considering for a moment, he asked Dai Xiao to test it out. If it really had such an effect, why not? The better his descendants developed, the more face he, the old ancestor, would have. Wang Sheng was brought in again. He was still fixed on the long bed. Wang Sheng didn't resist at all. Since Dai Hao was in a hurry to give him nourishment, why should he push him out? Dai Xiao had some changes. His head, arms, and upper body were still fixed, but the shackles on his legs were removed. They no longer restricted the flow of spirit qi into his body. In this way, he could ensure that Dai Xiao's struggles wouldn't cause them to separate from each other. At the same time, he could ensure that he had sufficient spirit qi to replenish himself. Wang Sheng immediately discovered the difference when he entered his origin soul space. After Dai Xiao removed the shackles on his legs, spirit qi surged into his origin soul space. The four super source spirits were recovering at a visible speed, becoming stronger and stronger. Wang Sheng and Dai Xiao could be said to have a tacit understanding. Once he saw Dai Xiao's strange source spirit once again rush up to mix with that big snake, Wang Sheng very naturally commanded the big Tao Dai to continue crazily devouring with its big mouth. Before Dai Xiao even realized it, invisible streams of spirit qi rushed into Wang Sheng's source spirit space for where the two of them were in contact. At the same time, the essence of the four supreme source spirits entered the Tao Ye's mouth bit by bit. With this bit of spiritual qi, Wang Sheng carefully tested it and found that it could be used in his soul essence space. However, the amount of spiritual qi was still very little. It could only support one word of the 9 secret words formula, and could not support the consumption of the 7 secret words formula. But this was enough for Wang Sheng. Of course, Wang Sheng could not openly use the 9 secret words formula in front of Dai Hao. However, he did not have to worry about using it in his own body. No matter how high Dai Hao's cultivation was, he could not see what was happening in Wang Sheng's body. The first target of the 9 secret words formula was the formation on his shackles. The formation isolated Wang Sheng's spirit energy. External spirit energy could not enter Wang Sheng's body. At the same time, the spirit energy in his own body could not enter his origin soul space. It was very powerful. If he wanted to recover his fighting strength, he had to destroy this isolation formation. In fact, Wang Sheng did not need to destroy it completely. He only needed to destroy the isolation between his spirit energy and his origin soul space, so that the spirit energy in his body could enter his origin soul space. He did not need to replenish it from the outside world. I want to add, isn't this Dai Xiao? Without food and clothes, enemies would naturally send themselves to him. With the support of Dai Xiao's spirit energy, the resistance of the 4 super source spirits was much stronger. However, with Wang Sheng's help, Dai Xiao was still able to maintain a much more efficient devouring rate than before. This was an experiment. Thus, it only lasted for half a day. Dai Xiao and Dai Hao were very satisfied with the results of this experiment. The only thing that made Dai Xiao unhappy was that he had observed more carefully this time. He discovered that a portion of the 4 super source spirits had been absorbed by Wang Sheng's origin soul. Even though the portion that Wang Sheng had absorbed was very insignificant to Dai Xiao, he was still very unhappy. This was a super feast for him. How could he share it with Wang Sheng? What's the ratio? Dai Hao asked in detail. 1%. Of course, Dai Xiao did not quantify it in detail. He could only make guesses based on what he had seen. How many carps did your origin soul devour each other? Dai Hao only reminded Dai Xiao. Dai Xiao figured out the rest by himself. Dai Xiao's origin soul was a combination of 99 carps devouring each other. Wang Sheng only had 1. Now that Wang Sheng had absorbed 1% of his origin soul, could this be the ratio? Since his origin soul was close to Wang Sheng's origin soul, its devouring power had greatly increased. Vice versa, Wang Sheng's origin soul should have also improved. Wasn't it normal for them to devour each other at a ratio of 1 to 99? In other words, the reason he can remain so calm is because he has only endured 99% of the pain I have to endure. Dai Xiao immediately assumed that Wang Sheng's calmness was also an explanation. He was in so much pain that he needed to be shackled, but Wang Sheng seemed fine. How could he be so different from Wang Sheng? When Dai Xiao thought about it this way, he felt that this was the correct explanation. Wang Sheng should be able to endure 1% of his pain, right? If you think of it this way, won't the everlasting Duke have to return all the benefits to you in the end? Dai Hao also felt that this was normal. That was why Dai Hao did not mind at all. Dai Xiao's ultimate goal was to devour 4 origin souls before devouring Wang Sheng's. Wouldn't it be Dai Xiao's in the end? The Dai family was very satisfied. At least Dai Hao, Dai Xiao, and the Great Elder were very satisfied. Dai Sheng's devouring of origin souls was on the right track, and Dai Sheng's injuries had stabilized. This was good news. Even though Dai Sheng's injuries were very serious, and he would need to pay a huge price to recover completely, it was a sign of good fortune as long as his injuries were stabilized and didn't worsen. From tomorrow onwards, devour as much as you can. Dai Hao instructed Dai Xiao and the Great Elder. It's best if you can finish everything in one go. You should know that those souls will recover if you stop for a moment. If you do it a few times, they'll disappear before you're done devouring them. I will do my best. I won't disappoint you. Dai Xiao immediately stood up. This was Dai Xiao's plan, and he couldn't wait any longer. Chapter 1536. Under Dai Hao's supervision, Dai Xiao did not stop the process of devouring the 4 supreme origin souls from the second day onwards. The Great Elder would even feed Dai Xiao and Wang Sheng pills and water to ensure that they would not stop the devouring process because of hunger and thirst. Dai Xiao enjoyed the process of pain and happiness. Even though he was in so much pain that he was hovering between life and death, he would be determined when he thought about the benefits of devouring the 4 supreme origin souls. This allowed him to persevere. In fact, Dai Xiao was a person who could endure. Otherwise, he would not have kowtowed and apologized in front of everyone during the Dao conference. He could endure anything for the Dai family. Now that it was for himself, he was even more willing to endure any pain. Every pain that he suffered today was a stairway that would lead him to a higher position in the future. Under Dai Hao's watchful eyes, Wang Sheng did not play any tricks. He only absorbed the essence of the supreme origin souls normally. At the same time, he lowered the difficulty for Dai Xiao so that he would think that everything was under his control. However, the 4 origin souls gave Wang Sheng many surprises. They were different from the 14-stage king cuttlefish origin soul. These 4 origin souls had been nurtured by 4 experts for more than 500 years. They had experienced the entire process of human cultivation from low to high. Even though they did not have most of the cultivation memories of the 4 experts, their process of improvement seemed to be engraved in the origin souls. When Wang Sheng absorbed to a certain extent, he naturally felt these changes. The changes in the origin souls were not very useful to Wang Sheng. However, they could be used to guide other similar origin souls in their cultivation. However, the memories of the origin souls contained many changes in the aura of their original owners. To Wang Sheng, this was an unexpected treasure trove. Other than the experts from 500 years ago, the only people who knew about the subsequent cultivation after entering the legendary realm were probably the old Taoist Ling Su, LV Wenho, and Ling Er. Other than them, everyone else, including Wang Sheng, was in complete darkness. Wang Sheng was slightly better. He had seen many powerful sea monsters. He didn't dare to say that he had mastered the cultivation method, but at least his confidence was many times stronger than others. Right now, the changes in the cultivation aura of the 4 super experts were just like the aura that Lin Xiao had left behind on the golden hairpin and the long sword back then. They were simply guiding lights in the dark night. The 4 of them had spent 500 years studying it. It was definitely a treasure among treasures. Wang Sheng felt like he had obtained a priceless treasure. Every day, he sensed these auras and enjoyed them as if he was intoxicated. On the surface, Wang Sheng appeared to be calmer and calmer. He even seemed to be enjoying it. On the other hand, Dai Xiao was still in so much pain that Dai Hao and the Great Elder didn't know how to describe their feelings. Just as Dai Xiao had judged, when Wang Sheng had absorbed the essence, a part of the aura had inevitably escaped and been absorbed by Dai Xiao. Because of that, Dai Xiao also benefited a lot. To the outside world, his cultivation was soaring like a balloon, and the spiritual qi in his legs was very obvious. Dai Hao and the Great Elder couldn't help but nod their heads as they watched from aside. Because of these experiences, and the fact that the four souls had been nurtured by the four super experts for more than 500 years, devouring them was even more difficult than devouring the Super King Cuttlefish's origin soul. Every one of them took Wang Sheng and Dai Xiao at least 11 or 12 days. It would take more than a month just to devour 4 origin souls. However, in less than a month, 28 or 29 days, Dai Xiao seemed to have accumulated enough. When the last origin soul was more than half left, Dai Xiao could no longer hold back and could not wait to trigger the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to temper his body and began to advance. When the spiritual qi of heaven and earth entered Dai Xiao's body, Dai Hao was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. This method was actually effective. It seemed like he had to find more opportunities like this. It was a pity that only Dai Xiao's origin soul could devour other origin souls. Otherwise, wouldn't the Dai family have created a bunch of experts? Dominating the world wouldn't be too far away. Wasn't there still a battle with Lin Xiao? If he could snatch Lin Xiao's origin soul, his descendant, Dai Xiao, would probably grow to an unbelievable level in addition to the origin souls of the experts who had died fighting with Lin Xiao. These were all things in the future. The most important thing now was to bring Dai Sheng to Dai Xiao's side. Such a huge amount of spiritual qi of heaven and earth would be very beneficial to Dai Sheng's body. When the overwhelming spiritual qi of heaven and earth surged into Dai Xiao's origin soul, Wang Sheng was also a little surprised. He didn't expect Dai Xiao to be so impatient. He was just on the verge of advancing, but he was already so eager to advance. Wasn't he a little too eager for success? However, after thinking about it, it wasn't strange for Dai Xiao to do this. Dai Xiao's advancement could be said to be the first person to advance to the epic realm apart from old Taoist Ling Su, right? Although LV Wen Ho and Ling were powerful, others didn't know about them. At most, they knew about Uncle Li, but they only thought that Uncle Li was at the late stage or peak of legendary realm. Dai Xiao being able to seize the title of number 1 apart from old Taoist Ling Su would also be of great benefit to the Dai family. In fact, Wang Sheng himself was also on the verge of advancing and could advance at any time. The enhancement of the aura of the 3 super experts made Wang Sheng's future path of cultivation more and more clear. But since there was still more than half, Wang Sheng didn't mind taking advantage of Dai Xiao's time to advance and absorb first. Without the influence of Dai Xiao, Wang Sheng could open his mouth and swallow it unscrupulously. This time, Wang Sheng did not let the big Tao Tai transform into 2,048 small Tao Dais to devour. Instead, he had the big Tao Tai open its mouth and swallow the last Dai Xiao's soul, which had only managed to devour a quarter of it. How could Wang Sheng miss out on such a turbulent spiritual qi of heaven and earth? Naturally, he would take as much as he could to make up for his consumption when swallowing. At the same time, he was immersed in the transformation of the last expert's aura and quietly comprehended it. Dai Xiao took more than 4 days to advance from the legendary realm to the epic realm. Over this period of time, the immense spiritual qi of heaven and earth nourished Dai Xiao's origin soul space. Dai Hao and the Great Elder, who had been guarding and managing Dai Xiao, were elated as they saw Dai Xiao's aura getting stronger and stronger. Even Dai Sheng, who was being nourished by the spiritual qi, was elated. Just as everyone thought that Dai Xiao's advancement was about to be completed, another huge streak of spiritual qi of heaven and earth entered Dai Xiao's original ball of spiritual qi. Dai Hao was shocked. After a closer inspection, he realized that it was Wang Sheng who had advanced this time. Wasn't Wang Sheng's spiritual qi isolated? How was that possible? Chapter 1537. Daihao was Daihao. Ever since he had been sealed for 500 years, he had become more open-minded. Since there were things that happened in this world, nothing was impossible. Anything that was impossible was possible. The spirit qi on Wang Sheng's body had already isolated Wang Sheng from the outside world. However, how did the spirit qi enter Wang Sheng's body? Daihao only had to carefully sense the direction of the spirit qi in the ball, and he immediately discovered some clues. The spirit qi that Wang Sheng needed was actually flowing through Dai Zhao's body. As their heads were in contact, the spirit qi treated Dai Zhao like a bridge. It crossed this bridge and entered Wang Sheng's body. After discovering this, Daihao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This works too. However, he didn't dare to let his guard down. He had already isolated Wang Sheng's spirit qi, who knew that Wang Sheng could still use spirit qi through Dai Zhao's body. If Wang Sheng resisted now, it wouldn't be good for Dai Zhao. Of course, since Wang Sheng was also in the process of advancing, it was very unlikely that he would resist. Furthermore, the spirit qi would enter Wang Sheng's origin soul through Dai Zhao's body. That would be very beneficial to Dai Zhao. There was no need to interrupt Wang Sheng now. He could just let nature take its course. In any case, the spirit qi that Wang Sheng used could only enter Wang Sheng's origin soul through Dai Zhao's body. Wang Sheng's body couldn't come into contact with any spirit qi. This was foolproof. Dai Zhao was already nearing the end of his advancement. However, the sudden appearance of such a huge ball of spirit qi would only prolong his advancement. It would be very helpful for him to consolidate his cultivation. Furthermore, it would also benefit Dai Sheng's body. Why not? The spirit qi of heaven and earth was too terrifying. That was why Dai Zhao had to pay attention to the shackles on Wang Sheng's body. If he couldn't hold on any longer, he could still suppress Wang Sheng in time. Things like arrays weren't enough against the spirit qi of heaven and earth. However, the strange thing was that even with such great pressure, the isolation formation on the shackles did not budge. It was as if the spiritual qi of heaven and earth no longer exerted pressure on the shackles. Instead, all the spiritual qi of heaven and earth took another path. Under the cover of the huge amount of spiritual energy, Wang Sheng only used 2 7-word arts to easily remove the isolation between his origin soul space and the spiritual energy in his body, allowing the spiritual energy to enter his body through the origin soul space to nourish his body. For Wang Sheng, this was a completely new experience. It was the complete opposite of the usual advancement process, something he had never experienced before. However, he didn't feel any discomfort or awkwardness, as if everything was normal. However, one of the 4 super experts did have this kind of internal to external cultivation method, and it was a good time to learn from it at this time. Of course, the most important thing was still the promotion of his source spirit. Strengthening his body was just a matter of convenience. Entering the legend realm from the legend realm to the legend realm, Wang Sheng's source spirit naturally changed. Before advancing, Wang Sheng had already made up his mind. Out of the remaining Dragon Sun transformations, he still had to complete the Jiaodu transformation and the Jiaodu transformation. The Jiaodu was usually used to guard the door, while the Jiaodu was very talkative. Which of the two was most suitable for the current situation? Between these 2 legends, Wang Sheng chose the Jiaodu. The Jiaodu was shaped like a snail and was very closed-minded. It was usually used as a shield. People used it to guard the door not only because it was tightly shut to ensure safety, but also because it looked ferocious and was responsible for guarding the door and guarding against evil. The Jiaodu was used to guard the door. What door was it guarding for cultivation? Wang Sheng immediately thought about his body's condition. Could guarding the door prevent the outside world from determining his body's condition? At this moment, Daihao was monitoring him from the outside. If that was really the case, it would be very suitable. Most importantly, Wang Sheng's expansion of the Jiaodu was not only to seal his body's condition, but also to increase his resistance and recovery ability. This was the most fundamental use of protecting his body's origin and guarding against evil. As for the Jiaodu, Its talkative nature should be an improvement in its judgment and intelligence. Or perhaps it could be used to expand the atmosphere in the courtroom. For now, the Jiaodu was more suitable for the current situation. At this moment, Wang Sheng's origin soul was already surrounded by white clouds. He couldn't see anything. Dai Zhao's origin soul should be completed at this moment. He should have the energy to see the changes to Wang Sheng's origin soul. However, he was disappointed by the clouds. Not to mention Wang Sheng's origin soul. His entire origin soul space was filled with clouds and fog. He couldn't see anything at all. Dai Xiao was naturally happy that the spiritual qi of heaven and earth could refine his body for a longer period of time. He wasn't a fool. How could he disrupt Wang Sheng's advancement at this moment? Just like what he and Dai Hao had thought before, it didn't matter even if Wang Sheng could ascend to the heavens or burrow into the earth. After all, Dai Xiao would still be the one to benefit from it. From this point of view, Dai Xiao couldn't wait for Wang Sheng's advancement to be more thorough and exaggerated. It would be best if he could advance twice and enter the 12th stage. That way, he would benefit more when he absorbed it. Whether it was Dai Xiao or Dai Hao, they didn't think about whether Dai Xiao could completely absorb Wang Sheng's origin soul. On one side, there were 99 carps devouring each other's origin souls. On the other side, there was only one carp's origin soul. Was there a need to say what happened? Didn't the ratio of absorbing 4 super origin souls explain everything? Dai Xiao also realized that more than half of his origin soul had disappeared. Needless to say, if it wasn't Dai Xiao, it could only be Wang Sheng. It couldn't be anyone else. Wang Sheng must have made use of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth when Dai Xiao was advancing to quickly devour the remaining half of his origin soul. With the ability of Wang Sheng's origin soul, he couldn't have done this without external help. At least that was what Dai Xiao thought. Wang Sheng's actions didn't make Dai Xiao vigilant. Instead, she became more relaxed. No one would be willing to become a cripple without any resistance. Don't look at how well Wang Sheng cooperated previously. That was because Dai Hao was suppressing him. Wang Sheng was a smart person. He didn't want to suffer physical pain, so he cooperated. However, this didn't mean that Wang Sheng was willing to wait for death. Absorbing more than half of his origin soul should be Wang Sheng's resistance. Dai Xiao really wanted to sneer at this. Did Wang Sheng really think that he could fight after absorbing more than half of his origin soul? Didn't he think that Dai Xiao had absorbed most of the 4 origin souls, and Wang Sheng could only absorb a little? Still struggling here, what a joke. This was also good. Dai Xiao was very satisfied. If Wang Sheng didn't resist at all and let her absorb his origin soul and origin soul space, it would seem like a trap no matter how she looked at it. This was the right way. Resisting unwillingly was the right way for Wang Sheng's origin soul and origin soul space to display its value. Chapter 1538. The more Wang Sheng resisted, the happier Dai Xiao would be. That was because it meant that the nourishment for his origin soul would be even more nourishing. Of course, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth brought by Wang Sheng's advancement would nourish his body first. Dai Xiao would gladly accept it. She would treat it as interest for Wang Sheng devouring half of his origin soul. With the Dai family's great elder feeding him pills and food, which were extremely beneficial to Dai Xiao, Wang Sheng wasn't worried that Dai Hao would forcefully stop his advancement. Furthermore, what Wang Sheng didn't know was that Dai Sheng was also freeloading off the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Wang Sheng's spiritual energy of heaven and earth had already healed Dai Sheng's injuries. Coupled with Wang Sheng's spiritual energy, Dai Hao would have to be crazy to disturb Wang Sheng. The result of Wang Sheng's boldness in upgrading his origin soul was that it took him 6 days to complete the pepper diagram transformation. Even so, Wang Sheng didn't stop. He continued to expand his acupoints and turned every single one of them into a yin-yang taiji cyclone. At the 11th stage, Wang Sheng's acupoints had already expanded to 1024. This number was definitely the highest record in the world of origin soul. It was unprecedented, and it would be impossible for anyone to surpass it in the future. No one knew better than Wang Sheng how terrifying an exponential growth was. The number of his acupoints increased exponentially. Wang Sheng was even worried that he would turn into a multi-eyed monster with acupoints all over his body. Dai Zhao's consciousness watched Wang Sheng's origin soul turn into a weird snail. She couldn't help but laugh coldly in her heart. It was originally an unremarkable carp remnant soul, but it still didn't improve even after reaching the epic stage. It actually turned into such a weird aquatic creature. Fortunately, Dai Zhao's origin soul was very weird from the start. He didn't suspect that there was anything wrong with Wang Sheng's transformation. He only watched quietly, as he used the spiritual energy of heaven and earth absorbed by Wang Sheng to consolidate his cultivation. He also pondered where he should start devouring. Wang Sheng could sense the changes around him. Just as Wang Sheng had expected, the pepper diagram transformation seemed to seal off all the spiritual energy in his body. From an outsider's point of view, no one could tell what was happening to Wang Sheng's spiritual energy and body. It was the same even if they used their spiritual energy to probe. At this point, Dai Hao couldn't tell whether Wang Sheng's body could circulate spiritual energy. The array formation on the shackles was meant to isolate spirit qi to begin with. Now that Wang Sheng's body was actively isolating itself from spirit qi, how could they possibly see anything amiss? All the muscles and bones in his body seemed to be strengthened. Perhaps this was the strengthening of Wang Sheng's resilience and recovery ability. However, at this moment, neither of these could be seen at all. On the other hand, large amounts of spiritual energy entered his Taiji yin-yang whirlpool after he opened his acupoints. Dai Zhao's origin soul was watching from the side, and the tiny person didn't come out to help. The efficiency was a little low, but the spiritual energy of heaven and earth took longer to temper his body. Dai Hao was completely astonished. 10 days had passed since Wang Sheng started his advancement, but he was still in the body-tempering stage. That was unbelievable. If not for the fact that the Great Elder had told him that Wang Sheng had taken more than 9 days to break Lin Xiu's seal, Dai Hao would have interrupted Wang Sheng's advancement, if not for the fact that the Great Elder had told him that Wang Sheng had taken more than 9 days to break Lin Xiu's seal. However, no matter how strong Wang Sheng was, he had to complete his advancement one day. On the 12th day, Wang Sheng finally completed everything and stopped the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. However, Wang Sheng had completed his Jieta transformation at this point. He opened 512 new acupoints and transformed every single one of them into a Taiji yin-yang whirlpool. Aside from not having a suitable cultivation technique, it could be said that everything Wang Sheng needed to do to advance to the next level had been perfected. Once he was done, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth ended, Wang Sheng and Dai Zhao's heads separated. Very soon, both of them woke up in reality. Congratulations, Changshan Duke. Dai Hao was very magnanimous at this point. He didn't speak to Dai Xiao first, but cupped his fists and congratulated Wang Sheng. From his expression, it seemed like he was very happy to see Wang Sheng advance. You've been advancing for 20 days. I'm sure Changshan Duke is exhausted. Please return to your abode and recuperate. As Dai Hao spoke, he ordered the Great Elder to send Wang Sheng back to his abode. He had been relying on pills and water for so many days. He was probably hungry and had other things to clean up. Wang Sheng was still very cooperative in replying to Dai Hao's congratulations. He only glanced at Dai Sheng, who looked much better, and left with the Great Elder without any strange expressions. Dai Hao waited until Wang Sheng couldn't be seen before he turned to Dai Xiao and smiled. How was it? Very good. Dai Xiao thanked Dai Hao respectfully. Thank you for protecting me, Patriarch. I'm very grateful. After thanking him, he turned to Dai Sheng and asked about his injuries. At this moment, Dai Sheng was completely awake and could even speak. After all, they were in the Dai clan's courtyard, and Song Lian was watching over them at all times. Compared to Wang Sheng, who had to escape and take care of Qi at the same time, this was much better. Although his injuries were more serious than Aki's, his cultivation was still strong enough. His body had been tempered by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth for close to 20 days, and he was no longer on the brink of death. When the great elder returned, Dai Xiao told him everything that had happened in his origin soul space. He had not seen what had happened to Wang Sheng when he was advancing. However, he had seen everything that had happened after Wang Sheng's advancement. Are you saying that after his origin soul transformed, he continued to temper his body with spiritual energy for 6 days without stopping? Dai Hao and the rest were a little puzzled as they listened. They didn't know what had happened at all. The few of them discussed for a long time, but they couldn't figure out what Wang Sheng had been doing for the last 6 days. They could only conclude that Wang Sheng was using the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to digest half of his origin soul. Otherwise, there was no other explanation. After all, they had only opened 10 apertures at most. Why would it take so long? No matter what, Dai Xiao had successfully devoured 4 powerful origin souls. Furthermore, he had made use of this to advance, and he had achieved his previous target. Next, he had to let Dai Xiao recuperate and recover to his peak condition. After that, he was prepared to devour Wang Sheng's origin soul. They had paid such a huge price to capture Wang Sheng. Dai Sheng had almost died because of this, and the Song and Gan families had also paid a huge price. From the start, they were after Wang Sheng's origin soul. Now that Wang Sheng had become an epic expert, and his origin soul came from the same source and was of the same cultivation realm, Dai Xiao would definitely be pleasantly surprised. Dai Hao guessed that Dai Xiao could advance by 1.5 levels after devouring the 4 origin souls in Wang Sheng's. From the looks of it, Dai Xiao might even be able to advance to the next level with a new plan and directly break through to stage 13. Chapter 1539. Dai Xiao used a full 10 days to consolidate her cultivation. It seemed like she had plenty of time. However, Wang Sheng didn't have it so easy. His spiritual qi was isolated, and he couldn't use it. How was he different from Cripple? Consolidating his cultivation? That was impossible. Of course, that was what Dai Xiao and Dai Hao saw. In fact, ever since Wang Sheng used the opportunity of leveling up to open his origin soul space and isolate the spirit qi in his body, he could already circulate the spirit qi in his body. Thanks to the Jiaotu transformation, the spiritual energy within Wang Sheng's body was sealed up. Outsiders would not be able to tell the difference between the sealed spiritual energy and normal spiritual energy. This allowed Wang Sheng to consolidate his cultivation base for 10 days while the spiritual energy within his body circulated. 10 days later, they were in the same secret room again. It was the same person and the same posture. Dai Xiao brought Wang Sheng's consciousness into Wang Sheng's spiritual space again. This time, there were no longer 4 supreme, elemental souls obstructing their spiritual spaces. Dai Xiao only had to go through a little trouble before she easily squeezed her soul into Wang Sheng's spiritual space. Wang Sheng had never seen someone as crazy and bold as Dai Xiao. She wanted to devour his soul, but she gave up her home ground advantage to enter someone else's spiritual space. She must be tired of living. However, Wang Sheng didn't let Dai Xiao fall into despair immediately. Instead, he used the mist around his spiritual space to create a huge shell around his Jiaodu transformation. He wanted Dai Xiao and Dai Hao to let down their guard before anything else. Dai Xiao was very pleased as she controlled her soul to charge towards Wang Sheng's snake-like soul. Her soul had devoured countless souls, and it had turned into a weird shape. It opened its mouth and bit off a huge chunk of the mist around Wang Sheng's soul. It swallowed it. Wang Sheng didn't say anything. He immediately switched his soul to Yazi. He opened his mouth and took a huge bite out of Dai Xiao's soul. As he did this, Wang Sheng controlled his expression and revealed a pained expression. Even though a piece of the cloud was bitten off and did not feel anything, Wang Sheng still made such an expression. Similarly, when Yazi bit Dai Xiao's soul, Dai Xiao immediately felt a sharp pain that penetrated into her bones. Her body couldn't help but tremble, and her face also showed the same pain. Fortunately, Wang Sheng only let the Yazi bite him once and immediately let go. But in Dai Zhao's opinion, other than being able to bite her, Wang Sheng's source spirit could not do anything to her own source spirit. It was lacking in strength. Wasn't it similar to the state of those 4 super source spirits? This situation lasted for about half a day before Wang Sheng and Dai Xiao were separated by Dai Hao. After this, Dai Hao asked Dai Xiao how she felt. From the moment Dai Xiao started to devour Wang Sheng's soul, Dai Hao didn't explain anything to Wang Sheng. He believed that Wang Sheng would definitely understand what they wanted to do. He even believed that Wang Sheng already knew what he was going to be like when they swallowed the 4 super source spirits together. Wang Sheng quickly regained his normal expression, but Dai Xiao maintained the ferocious expression on her face for a very long time. It had to be said that when Dai Xiao was bitten by a Z in her spirit form, the pain she felt was real from the inside out. It couldn't be faked at all. Even if the 2 of them were separated, Dai Xiao still continued to feel pain for a while. How is it? Dai had a need to bring Wang Sheng away to ask Dai Xiao. It was meaningless. He directly asked Wang Sheng. Very good. Dai Xiao was very satisfied that she could bite a few pieces of Wang Sheng's soul. She didn't hide her excitement at all. She looked at Wang Sheng as if she was looking at a delicious dish. She even turned to Wang Sheng and smiled at Wang Sheng. Duke Changxing's resistance is very strong. Did you learn this from those 4 source spirits? It's useless, Duke Changxing. You've seen the outcome of those 4 source spirits. We have to try whether it's useful or not. Wang Sheng replied to Dai Xiao plainly. Neither of us can help if we fight in the origin soul space. We can only rely on ourselves, right? The last sentence was directed at Dai Hao. Dai Hao also understood that even though he was a stage 13 expert, he couldn't help at all. He could only watch. He couldn't even see. He could only judge the outcome from Dai Xiao and Wang Sheng's expressions. Fortunately, from the performance of the 2, Dai Xiao had the upper hand. It made sense. How could a group of 99 origin souls not be able to defeat one? It had always been the big fish that ate the small fish. When had the small fish ever eaten the big fish? However, Dai Hao wasn't completely at ease. He still had to observe for a few more days. Over the next few days, Wang Sheng and Dai Xiao spent the entire day dueling each other. Every time, Dai Xiao could tear a large piece of Wang Sheng's origin soul and devour it. Furthermore, the piece that she tore off was getting bigger and bigger. Dai Xiao could indeed feel that it was very nourishing. All of this meant that Dai Xiao was getting closer and closer to her ultimate goal. The mist in Wang Sheng's source spirit space was also influenced by Wang Sheng's dragon sun source spirit. For Dai Xiao, it was enough to nourish her. Originally, Wang Sheng wanted Dai Xiao to devour 1 or 2 small origin souls to reassure him. However, there was no need for that now. On the other hand, Wang Sheng's expression was getting uglier by the day. In Dai Hao and Dai Zhao's eyes, this was a sign that Wang Sheng's origin energy had been greatly depleted. Wang Sheng's spiritual qi was cut off by the shackles. He couldn't possibly control his body to disguise himself. This could only be because his origin soul was damaged by Dai Zhao's devouring. Of course, Wang Sheng and Dai Zhao's faces were filled with pain every time this happened. Sometimes, the 2 of them would even struggle painfully on the long bed. If not for the fact that the shackles were strong enough, the 2 of them would have struggled free. After observing for half a month, Dai Hao and Dai Xiao finally believed that Wang Sheng had no chance of turning the tables. It was only a matter of time before he was devoured by Dai Zhao's origin soul. The only thing that displeased Dai Xiao was that Wang Sheng was still resisting even at this stage. Every time, Dai Xiao was in so much pain that she wanted to die. It was even more intense than when she devoured 4 origin souls. However, this was normal in Dai Hao's eyes. After all, Wang Sheng's body and origin soul were both present. Devouring a living origin soul was naturally more complicated and difficult than devouring 4 people's origin souls. Dai Xiao still had to go through a tough process if she wanted to completely devour Wang Sheng's origin soul and origin soul space. One night, Dai Hao called Dai Xiao over and instructed her, "That plan has to be carried out." As the leader of the family, Dai Xiao knew what was going on. She nodded without saying a word. The next day, when Wang Sheng was sent into a secret room again, Dai Hao was no longer around. The Dai family's great elder was the only one in charge of watching over him. Chapter 1540. Wang Sheng was very, very surprised. He didn't expect Dai Hao to leave at such a crucial moment. In Wang Sheng's plan, Dai Hao was the main obstacle to him leaving. After Wang Sheng devoured Dai Zhao's origin soul, the only person in the Dai family's side courtyard that Wang Sheng was afraid of was Dai Hao. Over the past few days, Wang Sheng had been strengthening his cultivation of the 9 syllables mantra. In fact, ever since Wang Sheng opened his new acupoints, he had been using the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to do this. Wang Sheng had completely grasped the 7-word formula. He wanted to break through to the 8-word formula. Of course, Wang Sheng didn't expect to grasp the 8-word formula in such a short period of time. That was why Wang Sheng strengthened the combination of the 8-word formula, which was mainly based on the confrontation formula. He tried his best to find the most powerful combination so that he could catch Dai Hao off guard. Wang Sheng was confident that his 8-word formula could delay Dai Hao for 10 seconds. As long as Wang Sheng used it, he would have a chance to escape. He wasn't afraid of Dai Hao's speed. At the Epic Realm, Wang Sheng could use the 8-word formula every few seconds after he broke free. Every time he delayed Dai Hao for a few seconds, the gap between the two of them would widen. As for Dai Hao's long-range attacks, Wang Sheng's Jiaodu form strengthened his resistance and recovery, as well as Wang Sheng's 9 syllables mantra. Wang Sheng would be able to hold on until he escaped Dai Hao's long-range attacks. Dai Hao was the only one. Wang Sheng had plenty of ways to escape after he got out of the forest. Wang Sheng had thought of all sorts of possibilities, but he didn't expect Dai Hao to leave at such a critical juncture. "Your ancestor Dai Hao isn't around?" Wang Sheng smiled at Dai Xiao and the Great Elder. "Aren't you afraid that I'll break free and escape? These shackles are made by the real Grandmaster of the Pavilion of Delicacy to isolate spiritual qi. After they were brought back, our ancestor strengthened the formation and materials." Dai Xiao wasn't worried about Wang Sheng's question at all. Instead, she explained to Wang Sheng in detail, "Not to mention Duke Changsheng. Even if Hao Zu wears it, I'm afraid he can't break free. Don't you think we can rest assured?" Sheng Zu had to be Dai Sheng, while Hao Zu had to be Dai Hao. This was how Dai Xiao and the Great Elder addressed each other in private. When they met, they directly addressed each other as Patriarch. This was something that Dai Sheng had personally strengthened. No wonder Dai Xiao and the Great Elder were so at ease. "After you devour my soul, will you really let me go?" Wang Sheng asked again, "Do you dare to let me go?" This is a condition that Ancestor Hao and Sheng Zu negotiated with the Song and Gan families. "Duke Changsheng, you're lucky that young Lady Song is protecting you. Otherwise, you would have died many times." Dai Xiao seemed to despise Wang Sheng for being protected by a woman. She sounded superior. "Don't worry. After devouring your soul, we'll definitely let you go. In addition, although young Lady Song is pretty, I'm not infatuated with her. I won't be like my useless brother, who fell into the hands of a woman." After she finished speaking, Dai Xiao seemed to want to express her generosity. She added, "I don't like women who have other men in their hearts. Don't worry, I won't make things difficult for young Lady Song." Wang Sheng nodded. Because of Dai Zhao's words, Wang Sheng could let him go this time. As for whether he would live or die when they met again, that would have to wait until they met again. The two of them lay down on the long bed once more. When Wang Sheng gave Dai Xiao a piece of cloud qi to eat, his super hearing and sense of smell were pushed to their limits, searching for the sounds and smells of the Dai family experts in the courtyard. Dai Sheng was still in the courtyard. His injuries were more stable than half a month ago, but he was still far from being fully recovered. His lungs and heart were severely injured, and almost half of his ribs were crushed. It was already a miracle that he could still talk. It was impossible for him to recover in a short period of time. If not for Song Lian's shocking medical skills and cultivation, Dai Sheng would have been a dead man. Sometimes, Wang Sheng was glad that the arrow didn't kill Dai Sheng. Otherwise, Wang Sheng wouldn't be so comfortable. No matter how much the Dai family valued their agreement with the Song and Gan families, they couldn't treat Wang Sheng nicely after their ancestor was killed by him. This was already Dai Hao's magnanimity. Otherwise, Wang Sheng would definitely have to suffer some physical pain. The batch of legendary experts that he was familiar with were all around. They should be the Dai family's trump cards. Wang Sheng searched for a long time, but he couldn't find Dai Hao. It seemed like Dai Hao had really left the courtyard. Wang Sheng didn't act rashly. He continued to devour Dai Xiao for an entire day and night. There was no other movement in the courtyard. Dai Hao didn't appear, either. What surprised Wang Sheng was that Dai Xiao didn't intend to stop this time. He continued to fight. It seemed like he wanted to devour Wang Sheng's origin soul in one go, just like the 4 origin souls from before. After discovering this, Wang Sheng wanted to question Dai Xiao. Who gave you such confidence? However, after pondering for a while, he realized that he had used his cloud energy to disguise his origin soul for Dai Xiao to devour, which gave him such an illusion. He was the culprit. It wasn't just this time. Even when he devoured the 4 origin souls earlier, it was all an illusion that Wang Sheng had given him. Wang Sheng heard the sounds of torches being lit and the Great Elder eating dinner outside. He knew that it was already nighttime. After confirming that Dai Hao wasn't in the courtyard, Wang Sheng suddenly made his move. Dai Xiao, who was enjoying the process of devouring Wang Sheng's origin soul, suddenly realized that Wang Sheng's origin soul had shrunk a lot. Is this because I've devoured quite a lot? However, in the next moment, Dai Xiao realized that Wang Sheng's origin soul, which was riddled with scars from his bites, was actually unscathed. What was going on? Before Dai Xiao could understand what was going on, Wang Sheng's origin soul, which looked like a snail, suddenly turned into a big-mouthed Tao Tai. The Tao Ye's mouth cracked open and revealed a sinister smile that scared Dai Xiao's soul. After that, it opened its mouth wide. In just one bite, Dai Xiao's origin soul was completely sucked into the Tao Ye's mouth. The Tao Tai swallowed in enjoyment, and Dai Xiao's origin soul was completely swallowed into the Tao Ye's stomach. On the long bed, Dai Xiao's body suddenly stiffened. After that, he suddenly stopped moving. The Great Elder was shocked. However, he realized that Dai Xiao was still breathing normally, so he didn't think much of it. Suddenly, the Great Elder turned his head towards Wang Sheng, who was lying on the bed. Logically speaking, Wang Sheng was forced into his origin soul space. He couldn't have woken up on his own. However, at this moment, Wang Sheng actually opened his eyes and even smiled at the Great Elder. How is this possible? In the next moment, Wang Sheng sat up in front of the Great Elder's incredulous eyes. The device that was restraining Wang Sheng's neck and head was like a decaying hide and started to crumble. Chapter 1541. If I were you, I wouldn't do anything. Wang Sheng smiled at the Dai family's Great Elder, who was in disbelief. You know that my cultivation level is definitely higher than yours. You won't be able to escape even if you try to escape. The Great Elder was the Great Elder after all, and he was quite fearless in the face of danger. He just didn't dare to believe that the shackles that Patriarch Dai Sheng had personally strengthened were actually unable to lock Wang Sheng's spiritual qi. How do you use your spirit energy? The Great Elder was puzzled and asked directly. Of course, he couldn't deny that Wang Sheng's words had worked. Wang Sheng was now in the epic realm. Although he had just advanced, he was indeed in the epic realm. When Wang Sheng was in the legendary realm, the Great Elder might not have dared to say that he was a match for Wang Sheng. Now that Wang Sheng had advanced, the Great Elder was completely sure that he couldn't escape from Wang Sheng. This was a secret room in the Dai family's courtyard. In order to keep it a secret and not let outsiders know what was happening inside, it was made very secretive and absolutely soundproof. It was impossible to hear what was going on inside from the outside. No matter how loudly the Great Elder shouted, it was impossible to alarm the people outside. Therefore, other than asking in astonishment, the First Elder could only stay there obediently lest he angered Wang Sheng and hurt Dai Xiao. Are you talking about these shackles? Wang Sheng raised his hand and asked the old Taoist. The great elder nodded and swept his eyes over the shackles on Wang Sheng's hands and feet. He wanted to see what was wrong with them. However, no matter how he looked, he couldn't see any flaws or damage on the shackles. This made the great elder even more puzzled. These shackles are good. There's no problem at all. Of course, Wang Sheng noticed the great elder's actions. He even raised his hands and feet to show the great elder. The formation that your ancestor Dai, Sheng strengthened, is indeed very powerful. Then how can you use spirit qi? The great elder couldn't understand it no matter how hard he thought about it. The shackles were still there, and the array was still working. How could Wang Sheng move freely? Actually, I don't need to use spiritual energy. Wang Sheng smiled. Just as the light in the great elder's eyes blossomed, his right hand grabbed the shackle on his left wrist. With a tug, the shackle was twisted into a strange angle. The light in the great elder's eyes instantly extinguished. When he heard that Wang Sheng did not use his spiritual energy, he thought that he still had a chance. But when he saw the deformed shackles, he immediately gave up on the thought of getting lucky. I don't need spiritual qi to open this thing. I can open it with just my physical strength. As Wang Sheng spoke, he effortlessly undid the 2 braces on his ankles. He also broke the one on his right hand. After that, he smiled and replied to the great elder, "If not for Patriarch Dai Hao, I might have left a long time ago." As he looked at the shackles that were like scrap metal, the great elder almost cried. Everyone knew that Wang Sheng was very strong. However, no one expected Wang Sheng to be so strong. If they had known, they would have used other methods to restrain Wang Sheng. Why did they have to treat him with respect and use these shackles? In fact, Wang Sheng's strength only increased after he completed the Jiaodu transformation. Previously, he was strong enough. However, his body was not as strong as these exquisite shackles. It was impossible for him to break them so easily. After completing the Jiaodu transformation, his body became even stronger. His strength also increased. That was why he could do this so easily. Previously, the plan was for Wang Sheng to use the 9 syllables mantra to counter the array on the shackles. After that, he could use a needle to break the shackles. However, since he was strong enough, there was no need to go through so much trouble. However, there was no need to explain these things to the great elder, right? Wang Sheng had already stood up. He turned his head and stretched his limbs. The great elder felt more and more bitter. Patriarch Dai Hao had been around the entire time. However, he went out to carry out a secret plan after realizing that Dai Zhao's progress was very smooth. The great elder wanted to use 2 days to complete this plan. However, Wang Sheng just had to retaliate now. What was going on? The great elder saw that Wang Sheng had no intention of doing anything for the time being. He braced himself and asked Wang Sheng, "What happened to our family head?" "Yes, he wanted to devour my soul. Do you know that?" Wang Sheng asked the great elder. The great elder nodded. Of course he knew. How could he not know that they had spent so much time preparing, including capturing Wang Sheng alive, to devour Wang Sheng's soul? "I wasn't willing. That's why I devoured his soul." Wang Sheng shrugged his shoulders apologetically. "I'm sorry. What did you say?" The great elder couldn't believe his ears. Wang Sheng actually devoured Dai Zhao's soul? Didn't that mean that Dai Zhao had become a piece of trash without a soul? "Don't worry." Wang Sheng gave the great elder a reassuring look. "I asked him if he would let me live. I'm very satisfied with his answer. That's why he won't die. Furthermore, I only devoured his soul. His soul space is still intact. You can just find a better soul and stuff it in. It won't be difficult for you to cultivate in a short period of time." Perhaps this was the only piece of good news that the great elder had heard. At least the family head could still be saved. He wasn't completely useless. "Thank you for your hospitality over the past few days." Wang Sheng had already stretched his limbs. He was prepared to leave. "Seeing that your patriarch didn't make things difficult for me, and seeing that you kept your promise and didn't intend to take my life, I won't massacre your courtyard this time." Wang Sheng was a person who could distinguish between kindness and hatred. Since Dai Hao and the others didn't intend to take Wang Sheng's life, Wang Sheng decided to return the favor. Previously, he had used Song Yin to scheme against Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng had also paid the price of collecting Dai Zhao's soul to appease Wang Sheng's anger. That was why Wang Sheng was reasonable and let them off this time. Of course, it's only for this time. Wang Sheng smiled and added, "The next time we meet, we'll still fight and kill. You don't have to stand on ceremony." What else could the great elder say? What else could he say? If he angered Wang Sheng now, he wasn't the only one who would be in trouble. The entire courtyard had the Dai family's family head, the great elder, a few other elders, and even a bunch of legendary experts. In addition, Patriarch Dai Sheng was severely injured. He wasn't a match for Wang Sheng at all. If he really angered Wang Sheng, the Dai family would be doomed. I've lost the bet. Wang Sheng had already walked to the door of the secret room. After going back and forth so many times, he knew how to open it. Suddenly, he thought of something and turned to the old Taoist. "Even if my protective clothing and those storage rings are your spoils of war, I won't take them back. However, I might have to travel a long way to get out. Do you have any storage rings with you?" Chapter 1542. Would the great elder dare to say no? It wasn't easy for Wang Sheng to leave on his own. Would the great elder infuriate Wang Sheng over such a small matter of food and drink and make him start a massacre? Or would he turn this place upside down? Only a fool would do that. That was why the great elder gave Wang Sheng 2 storage rings. They were filled with food and water. The great elder had prepared them for himself, and they were enough for Wang Sheng to use for 2 months. These things are so. I'll just make do with them. Wang Sheng took the storage rings and used his spiritual qi to erase the great elder's aura. Naturally, he knew what was inside. The great elder really wanted to curse at Wang Sheng. These were all good things that his subordinates had prepared for him, but Wang Sheng only gave them a so evaluation. Wasn't Wang Sheng's standard a little too high? Don't be indignant. Wang Sheng had already opened the door. He said to the great elder in the secret room, "There isn't even any 13th stage demonic beast meat. It's barely enough to fill my stomach. Even my flying steed eats better than you do." What else could the great elder do when he met someone who couldn't be reasoned with? He wanted to eat 13th stage demonic beast meat, but there had to be some. Wang Sheng's one sentence had rendered him speechless. It was infuriating to compare oneself with others. As the great elder of the Dai family, he couldn't even compare to that eagle in terms of food. "Don't even think about killing Dai Xiao and framing me after I leave. Unless you die with me, Dai Hao won't believe you. I'll leave quietly. I won't disturb everyone's rest." Wang Sheng smiled at the great elder and closed the door to the secret room. Wang Sheng's words echoed in the great elder's ears. "You don't have to send me off." Hearing the sound of the secret room's door closing, the first elder could no longer hold back. He dashed to Dai Zhao's side, stretched out his hand, and began to diagnose Dai Zhao's pulse. Just now, there was indeed a moment when he wanted to wait for Wang Sheng to leave before killing Dai Xiao. However, just as this thought arose in his mind, it was exposed by Wang Sheng's words, causing the first elder to break out in a cold sweat. At this time, he didn't dare to make any more trouble and obediently checked on Dai Zhao's condition. Just as Wang Sheng had said, if one wanted to frame Wang Sheng, unless the first elder also died, who would believe that Wang Sheng would kill Dai Xiao and leave the first elder alive? He and Dai Xiao were actually in the same boat. Neither of them could get into trouble alone. Fortunately, Dai Xiao was only unconscious, and there were no injuries on her body. Even the spiritual energy in her body was still there. However, this situation caused the first elder to feel even more terrified. Wang Sheng was actually able to easily devour the souls without harming them. He was much stronger than Dai Xiao. Why did the great ancestor in Dai Xiao want to devour Wang Sheng's soul at the beginning? Carrying Dai Xiao on his back, the first elder quickly left the secret room and went straight to the place where Dai Sheng was recuperating. Although Wang Sheng said he wouldn't do anything, it was impossible to know a man's heart. Who knew if Wang Sheng would numb him and then vent his anger on great ancestor Dai Sheng? It wasn't until he saw great ancestor Dai Sheng's figure that the first elder was relieved. Wang Sheng left very secretly. Apart from a few guards on the way to the secret room, he didn't alarm anyone, nor did he hurt them. Even the legendary level guards could not see him. They did not even have time to send out the alarm before they were subdued by Wang Sheng. The few guards were all subdued, and the first elder was terrified. Until now, the first elder still didn't dare to mobilize all the experts in the courtyard to chase after Wang Sheng. He didn't want to send all the strength in the courtyard to their deaths. The first elder couldn't help but feel bitter as he thought about Patriarch Dai Hao's secret plan. Was this considered going for wool and coming home shorn? However, everything had to wait for Patriarch Dai Hao to return. The emergency messenger bird had already been sent out. Who knew what kind of storm Patriarch Dai Hao would unleash when he returned? Would a furious Patriarch Dai Hao hate Wang Sheng, the Song, and the Gan family to the core, and start a massacre? Would he directly charge into the capital and destroy Lijin Lane? At this moment, Wang Sheng had already rushed to the location where he had attacked Dai Sheng. After that, he followed the direction in which he had escaped. When he passed by a unique mountain rock, Wang Sheng went forward and lifted it. There were 6 storage rings underneath. They were the 6 that Wang Sheng had ordered the bugs to deliver to him. Wang Sheng's most important equipment was in them. After putting away the storage rings, Wang Sheng left calmly. Dai Hao wasn't around. Song Lian and Gan Qingchuan had already left. There was no one here who was stronger than Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng didn't believe that the first elder would dare to send people to kill him. Of course, even if they did, Wang Sheng wouldn't be afraid. At most, he would just kill a few more of them. When the sky brightened, Wang Sheng was already 100 miles away. Along the way, Wang Sheng was very worried about Heavy Snow's injuries. After all, Heavy Snow had taken a full blow from a Stage 13 expert. Although Heavy Snow could dissipate some of the force in the air, he had taken a direct hit from the spiritual energy attack. Wang Sheng didn't know how he was doing. However, now wasn't the time for Wang Sheng to travel long distances to find Heavy Snow. Before he left, Wang Sheng swallowed Dai Zhao's soul in one gulp. He didn't have time to digest it. Wang Sheng had to find a safe place as soon as possible so that he could calm down and absorb Dai Zhao's soul. Wang Sheng had a premonition that it wouldn't be easy to swallow Dai Zhao's soul. However, without Heavy Snow to fly overseas, where would Wang Sheng be safe? Other than safety, Wang Sheng also needed a stable source of information. Otherwise, Wang Sheng wouldn't know what was happening in the world. He would be in the dark and lose many opportunities. Wang Sheng was thinking about this problem along the way. On the 3rd day after leaving the Dai family's side courtyard, Wang Sheng decided to go to Carefree City. Currently, Carefree City was the best choice. At least the patriarchs of the various families still recognized the rules of Carefree City. They hadn't charged into Carefree City to kill people yet. Wang Sheng's trip to Worry-Free City was the safest route. If Dai Hao still recognized the rules of Carefree City, then Wang Sheng would be safe there. If he didn't, then he would fall out with Carefree City. When that happened, LV Wenho and Ling would have to stand up for him. Otherwise, Carefree City would be destroyed. This was also beneficial to forcing LV Wenho out. In addition, Carefree City was well informed. Wang Sheng could know what was happening in the world at any time. This would put people who were watching him at ease. Of course, the most important reason was that Wang Sheng's public appearance in Carefree City would definitely be known by the world. When that happened, Lin Xiao would know where to look for him. The grounds of 1,000 Extremities was Wang Sheng's path. 3 days later, Wang Sheng appeared outside the city gate of the Worry-Free City near the grounds of 1,000 Extremities. He was surrounded by a group of dumbfounded people. Chapter 1543. Wang Sheng had come to the Worry-Free City. Didn't he know that he was being hunted by the entire world? While they were still in shock, the people outside the Worry-Free City suddenly realized that if they were in Wang Sheng's shoes, they would have nowhere else to go other than the Worry-Free City. Under the watchful eyes of many people inside and outside the city, Wang Sheng leisurely walked into Carefree City. He walked along the main street and headed straight for his mansion. Through this gate, he would enter the inner city of the Worry-Free City. Back then, When Wang Sheng first came to the worry-free city, he had entered through this gate on the lands of thousand extremities. But at that time, the gate was just a small gap that could only allow one person to pass through. Now, it had become a huge gate. Seeing that Wang Sheng had entered the worry-free city, many people turned and ran. This news was worth a lot of money. Everyone in the worry-free city knew how to do business. Even those that didn't know how to do business were forced to do so by the high prices in the city. In less than half a day, almost everyone in the world knew that Wang Sheng had entered the worry-free city. However, this wasn't the biggest news in the past 2 days. The real news that shocked the world was a few days ago. Wang Sheng only found out about it after he entered the worry-free city and met the old butler who rushed over after hearing the news. Only heaven knew what expression the old butler had when he saw Wang Sheng. In any case, it was very interesting and it made people want to laugh. "Oh my God, Duke Changsheng, Duke!" The old butler looked as though he was about to cry. He was happy to see Wang Sheng, but he was more worried. Can you do a good deed and not drag the worry-free city down? Who didn't know that Wang Sheng was being hunted by the entire world? If it was in the past, the worry-free city wouldn't care. But now, there were more than 20 old ancestors who had reached the 13th stage 500 years ago. If they were really angered, they would definitely rush into the worry-free city and clean it up from the inside out. The cleanup here, of course, referred to killing every last one of them. 13th degree realm experts, not to mention a small worry-free city, even if it was the entire world, who would be able to stop them? Could it be that the worry-free city was about to face a calamity? Cut the crap. Wang Sheng directly blocked the housekeeper's complaint and said snappily, "See, I don't even have a servant here. Hurry up and find someone to clean it up for me." The two maidservants who had always been here had already been secretly taken away by Marquis L.V. Wenho to serve Lin Xiao. Chef had also gone to the capital city. Of course, there was no one here. Fortunately, Wang Sheng's reputation was still there, so no one dared to occupy this mansion. The housekeeper looked very reluctant, but he still hurriedly gave the order, and an attendant immediately ran to make arrangements. The housekeeper accompanied Wang Sheng and sat in Wang Sheng's courtyard. The courtyard door was wide open, and one could see inside from the street outside. "Old brother." Wang Sheng continued to address the housekeeper as old brother. Hearing this, the muscles on the housekeeper's face twitched, but eventually he just gave a long sigh and didn't grumble anymore. "Don't worry, there are so many enemies in the various families in the worry-free city. When have you ever seen them charging in to kill indiscriminately?" Wang Sheng smiled as he enlightened the housekeeper. "I believe you also know that if they really want to find me, it's definitely not to kill me immediately, but to find out the whereabouts of another person." He had just finished his words when Wang Sheng saw the unnatural expression on the housekeeper's face and couldn't help but ask what happened. Maybe they already know where that person is. The housekeeper's face twitched twice, and he gave a bitter smile as he replied, 6 days ago, the Shi family was attacked." "Shi family? 6 days ago?" Wang Sheng went into a blank and hurriedly asked, "Tell me in detail, what was the outcome of the attack?" "Very tragic." Old brother housekeeper seemed a little uneasy as he spoke. The ancestor of the Shi clan was killed on the spot, and all the experts in the Shi clan's capital city were slaughtered. Only a few people managed to escape. In a night, the Shi family's vitality was greatly damaged, and without the ancestor, there weren't many legendary experts left in the Shi family, and they directly fell to the bottom of the 8 great families. Why the Shi family? Wang Sheng couldn't help but frown and stared into the eyes of the housekeeper. "Can you be sure that she did it? You should know that she wouldn't touch the Shi family for no reason." This sentence was a test to see if the housekeeper knew about it too. Although LV Wonho's identity was a secret, it couldn't be hidden from the housekeeper, right? "What's the use of knowing? Do you think I can explain it to her?" The housekeeper smiled bitterly, and the moment he opened his mouth, Wang Sheng knew that he knew the inside story. "Is she still here?" Wang Sheng asked again. "Has her injury recovered?" "She left a month ago." The housekeeper didn't make things difficult for him this time, and happily told Wang Sheng. She only left when she was almost recovered. After saying that, he added, "She left alone," saying that she was going to look around. Look around? That's right. 500 years had passed, and it was normal for Lin Xiao to want to see what the world had become. "Congratulations on your great improvement in cultivation, brother." Wang Sheng just realized at this time that the housekeeper had reached the legendary realm and couldn't help but congratulate him. "It's all thanks to that person," the housekeeper said with a face full of worship, raising both hands and cupping them in an unknown direction, saying, "She only gave me a few pointers, and I was suddenly enlightened." Wang Sheng nodded. With Lin Xiao's cultivation, giving pointers to the housekeeper was really just a matter of a word. Even LV Wan Ho and Ling probably received a lot of pointers, and their cultivation should have improved further, right? What do the people outside say? Wang Sheng didn't ask much about LV Wan Ho. The housekeeper was loyal to him, and he wouldn't answer much even if he asked. It was better to understand the outside world first. Some people in the 8 great families guessed that it's because of the secret cultivation manual that the Shi family took. In response to this question from Wang Sheng, the housekeeper didn't hide anything at all and said everything he knew. It said that the Shi family took a secret cultivation manual of that person in the core of the land of Thousand Despair. "I know, the Phoenix Soaring Mantra." Wang Sheng nodded and continued. "I took the Shi family and the Gan family together. The Shi family picked first and took the Phoenix Soaring Mantra." The corners of the housekeeper's mouth couldn't help but twitch when he heard that. What else could he say? She even knew the specific name of the secret manual, and she personally took it with her people. What else was there to hide? They said that person probably attacked the Shi family because of this. The housekeeper said all the guesses he knew in one breath. It said that the secret manual is the only cultivation method that isn't recorded in the 24 holy cultivation grounds, and it's also the key to defeating that person. Chapter 1544. Getting the Soaring Phoenix Mantra could defeat Lin Xiao? What wishful thinking was that? Wang Sheng almost burst out laughing when he heard it. If not for the fact that he was embarrassed to scold him in front of the butler, Wang Sheng would have laughed until he could not sit still. And it was the only cultivation method that was not recorded in the 24 cultivation holy lands? Did those people know that those 24 places were Wang Sheng's hints to Lin Xiao, which was why she made up the experimental fields like a prank? It was also because this world did not have the poem Ode to the Gallant. There was no history described in the poem. Otherwise, Lin Xiao might really come up with an Ode to the Gallant for them to study. A bunch of guys who did not know anything thought that this was Lin Xiao's only weakness. So they imagined that Lin Xiao killed the Shi family's old ancestor and Shi Guo experts in order to silence them. What a joke! Would Lin Xiao care about that Soaring Phoenix Mantra? Standing from Wang Sheng and Lin Xiao's point of view, this reason was naturally a joke. However, after Wang Sheng mulled over the taste, he couldn't bring himself to smile. Because in the eyes of outsiders, this reason was so logical and so realistic. It seemed like other than Lin Xiao, no one had the motive and ability to do such a thing. In other words, this SH*T had already been firmly pinned on Lin Xiao's head and could not be easily removed. What was this called? Although he felt uncomfortable, there was also good news. At least for the time being, Lin Xiao's safety did not need Wang Sheng to worry about. Wang Sheng could let out a long sigh of relief. Wang Sheng could now live in Carefree City with peace of mind and wait for the news to be released and let Lin Xiao come and find him. Suddenly, Wang Sheng thought of something and suddenly asked the butler, "When did this happen?" 6 days ago. To be exact, it was 6.5 days ago. Early that morning at dawn. The butler did not know what Wang Sheng meant, but he still answered very seriously. "Who discovered it?" Wang Sheng asked again. What was the situation at that time? Those ordinary people in the Shi country capital only discovered it in the morning. The butler revealed everything he knew about the situation. There was a lot of commotion in the morning. Those people did not dare to go in easily and waited until there was no sound before going in. It's very tragic inside. There's no one alive. Do you think such an expert would kill people in such a bloody manner? Wang Sheng couldn't help but ask the housekeeper in return. The butler had received Lin Xiu's guidance before, so he should know Lin Xiu's way of taking action, right? Tragic means too many people have died. The butler hurriedly explained, but the method of killing was very straightforward. All of them were killed with a single blow. They didn't even spit out much blood. It definitely fits that person's style. What about the ancestor of the Shi family? Wang Sheng then asked. It's hard to say for others, but the patriarch of the Shi family should be able to withstand one or two moves, right? It's not difficult to create a big commotion. Same here. The housekeeper shook his head and said, the Shi clan's patriarch was also killed in one blow. Looking at the surrounding traces, he probably didn't even have the chance to attack. Other than that person, who else can achieve such a powerful cultivation? That might not be the case, Wang Sheng said very calmly, but his heart was already in turmoil. If Wang Sheng didn't remember wrongly, Dai had left the Dai family's courtyard 6.5 days ago at dawn, and Wang Sheng had taken the opportunity to devour Dai Zhao's origin soul and escape the Dai family's courtyard. What could be more important than Dai Xiao devouring Wang Sheng's origin soul to advance? Why would Dai Hao leave at such a coincidental time? If he thought further ahead and pondered over the 4 powerful origin souls that Wang Sheng and Dai Xiao devoured, there would be even more possibilities. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? What's the situation with the Dai family these few days? Wang Sheng asked again. The Dai family? The housekeeper was stunned for a moment. After that, he seemed to have realized something. Are you talking about Dai Xiao forcing young lady Song to marry? It's fine. That matter has passed. Half a month ago, the Dai family and the Song family reconciled and sent gifts as an apology. This matter was announced to the whole world, and everyone knows about it. So there hasn't been any movement from them these few days. Wang Sheng continued to ask, after the Shi family's incident. There hasn't been any movement. The housekeeper shook his head and replied confusedly. It's normal for them to be on guard, but this isn't anything special, right? Interesting. The Dai family had suffered such a huge loss, and Dai Zhao's origin soul had been devoured by Wang Sheng. But the Dai family acted as if nothing had happened. They were indeed very tolerant people from young to old. Have you heard that the Dai family's patriarch was injured? Wang Sheng continued to ask without batting an eyelid. The Dai family's patriarch was injured? How could that be? I've never heard of it. The housekeeper shook his head. Other than that person, who else can injure the Dai family's patriarch? At this point, the housekeeper's body suddenly trembled. Brother, did you hear something that we don't know about? Is there really someone who can injure the Dai family's patriarch? This time, Wang Sheng didn't reply. Instead, he lifted his hand and pointed at his nose with interest. How is that possible? The housekeeper was shocked and almost shouted out this sentence. Finally, he knew the pros and cons, so he forcefully held it in. But his heart was almost screaming out wildly. A 13th stage realm expert, Wang Sheng was at most in the legendary realm. So how could he possibly injure the Dai family's patriarch? Tell me everything that happened while she was recuperating. Wang Sheng started to raise his conditions. I will use the news of injuring the Dai family's patriarch to exchange for it. I'll go and ask the city lord. The housekeeper couldn't wait to nod his head. But such a big matter wasn't something he could decide, so he could only ask the city lord. If it's convenient for him, he can come over to have a chat. Wang Sheng nodded his head and agreed to the housekeeper's request. When he comes over, bring the best wine. The housekeeper was about to leave when Wang Sheng added another sentence. Let eldest Miss Ling personally prepare some dishes. If it's not made by her, I don't feel good eating it. The housekeeper nodded his head and left with a long face. Compared to the city lord, eldest Miss Ling was the real demon. Wang Sheng had given him a big problem. He really didn't know if eldest Miss Ling would go crazy when she heard this request. From the moment the housekeeper said that he wanted to ask the city lord, Wang Sheng knew that LV when home must be in Carefree City. The request to let Ling personally prepare the dishes was deliberately added by Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng wanted to know if Ling an epic expert, would really cook a decent meal for him and LV Wenho. Ling Er's expression would definitely be very interesting. The response from Carefree City was very fast. When Wang Sheng's residence was cleaned up in the fastest speed possible, LV Wenho had already arrived with a bitter smile on his face. Beside him was naturally an angry eldest, Miss Ling Er. However, the first thing LV Wenho said when he entered was not to complain, but to tell Wang Sheng another piece of news. The Shi family is finished. Chapter 1545. Wang Sheng did not ask directly, but asked the two of them to take a seat first. Unfortunately, there was nothing to entertain the guests, which made Miss Linger roll her eyes at Wang Sheng for a while before she took out some food and wine from her storage ring and prepared it for Wang Sheng and LV Wenho. Thank you, Linger. Wang Sheng took advantage of the situation and thanked Linger profusely, which made Linger unable to vent her anger. She did not know how many times she had scolded Wang Sheng in her heart. What happened to the Shi family? Wang Sheng asked LV Wenho as he raised his wine glass. Completely finished. LV Wenho clinked glasses with Wang Sheng and drank under the dissatisfied gaze of Linger before he began to narrate to Wang Sheng. In fact, LV Wenho had just received the news. The real thing should have happened last night. All the experts of the Shi family in the valley at the core of the grounds of 1,000 Despair were massacred. This was obviously not done by Lin Xiao, but by the various families who received the news. It was still unclear which family or which families it was, but it could be any family. Most importantly, the legendary experts of the Shi family who were stationed here were all dead, including in the Shi kingdom. As long as they were experts of the 5th stage realm and above, and their whereabouts could be tracked, no one escaped the fate of being killed. It had been 7 days since the incident with the old ancestor of the Shi family. For such a long time, no one had touched the Shi family. It was probably because the various families were mobilizing their forces and formulating a plan to kill in one strike. In short, other than the Shi family members in the capital and worry-free city, and a few experts who had escaped the catastrophe, there was no Shi family expert of the 5th stage realm and above in the entire Shi kingdom. Those who were left were considered lucky to be able to preserve their lives and everything they had. Revenge? Against the entire world? Without Lin Xiao's ability, they wanted to emulate her feat? Actually, without LV Wenho's confirmation, everyone could guess that other than the other 7 families and those with the support of the old ancestor, who else would make a move against the Shi family? Perhaps Li Jinfeng would not act directly, but they would definitely be happy to see the Shi family suffer. At the end of the day, this was the inevitable result of the death of the Shi clan's great ancestor and the experts of the Shi kingdom. There were no experts keeping watch over such a rich and populous territory like the kingdom of Shi. Moreover, there was a large pack of wolves around them. It would be strange if nothing happened. In other words, the timing wasn't right. Back in the day, the Dai Kingdom had also been massacred in the royal palace. The patriarch, grand elder, and all the guards of the royal palace had also been wiped out. However, there wasn't a great disparity in strength between everyone at that time. By the time the Dai clan quickly mobilized their hidden manpower, the other clans already didn't have a chance to make a move. The most important thing about the Shi clan was that their high-end martial power had been wiped out. Without a leader, they had wasted a few days of time before they ended up like this. How will the Shi family's territory be divided? Wang Sheng wasn't surprised. Didn't the families kill the Shi family members to such an extent for territory? At most, he would be given the title of nobility by the emperor. It hasn't been divided yet. I reckon they'll argue for a long time. LV Wenho had just received the news. Such a big matter couldn't be divided in less than a day. It would take at least a few months. Fortunately, they didn't kill all the Shi family members. Wang Sheng sighed. Back in the day, when the other clans dealt with the Lin family, they wiped out the entire Lin family. Of course, Wang Sheng was just sighing. He didn't feel sorry for the Shi family. Wasn't this how the other clans did things? Didn't Triumph Palace also end up like this a few years ago? The female disciples of Triumph Palace were even given as gifts to Wang Sheng. It was just that at that time, They didn't know that those female disciples had such powerful combat strength. If they had known, they would have killed them all. If the remaining Sure family members are smart, they should quickly give up the Sure kingdom and find a small place to live incognito. They should live slowly and never mention revenge. LV Wenho also nodded and followed up Wang Sheng's words and said, "If they have any other thoughts, I'm afraid that once they make a move, they won't be far from death." Speaking of being smart, there's something I don't understand. LV Wenho bringing up this topic, Wang Sheng also didn't understand. He immediately asked LV Wenho, "Brother LV, isn't it good to hide your identity and be the owner of the Imperial Treasure House? Why do you have to get involved in this? What's in it for you to play that game?" LV Wenho naturally knew what Wang Sheng was asking. Seeing Wang Sheng asking seriously, he couldn't help smiling bitterly. "If I say that I have no choice, do you believe it?" LV Wenho asked Wang Sheng. "I believe it." Wang Sheng immediately nodded. Who has nothing better to do and wants to play such a big game? At that time, the two of us will be public enemies. Public enemies meant that whoever interfered at that time would either be finished off by Wang Sheng and Lin Xiao, or be hunted down and killed by the 8 great families afterward. LV Wenho wasn't that foolish. Linger wasn't a fool either. They must have a reason to do so. Because of Uncle Li. LV Wenho no longer kept him in suspense and directly said the reason. Uncle Li didn't kill you in the capital city. After returning to Carefree City, he wanted to target you everywhere. I don't know what method he used, but he left a mark on your body that only he can trace. If I didn't show up that day, Uncle Li would have killed you guys. Even if that's the case, then you don't have to show up at all, Wang Sheng asked in puzzlement. All troubles are caused by standing out forcefully. I don't believe that you don't understand. But you guys are going to die. What hope do we have? LV Wenho smiled and replied. Wang Sheng understood LV Wenho's meaning. Without Lin Xiao, then those ancestors from all sides would come out. The entire world would face a reshuffle. Whether or not Carefree City could still sit back and relax would probably be another matter. Then why did you still take her away by force? Wang Sheng continued to ask. Wang Sheng could understand killing Uncle Li, an expert with disloyalty who dared to easily keep by his side. But separating Wang Sheng and Lin Xiao was somewhat puzzling. I'm a businessman. LV Wenho did not hide this at all. Since I made a move, then I have to fight for my greatest profit. Separating you guys can let me brush up a wave of favorable impression in front of Miss Lin. In addition, you have Uncle Li's mark on your body. Who knows if he has already told some people to track you. Once they see me, through you, Carefree City and the Imperial Treasure House will be a disaster. I don't dare to take this risk. LV Wenho's words. Wang Sheng only believed half of it at most. He believed that LV Wenho really thought so half of his thoughts. But the other half that he did not say was definitely wanting to take advantage of Lin Xiao's half-year recovery to get something from Lin Xiao. Or he already got it, or he did not dare to take further action. Who knew? Chapter 1546. Just like what LV Wenho had said, he was a businessman. As long as he maintained the most basic benefits, he would fight for as much as he could. Why didn't you explain yourself then? Wang Sheng laughed and retorted. Who am I? I'm the owner of the Imperial Treasury, and I am the mayor of Worry-Free City. LV Wenho exclaimed exaggeratedly. I clearly had the upper hand then, and I still had to explain myself to the two of you. How embarrassing would that be? All right, for your sake, cheers. Wang Sheng raised his glass and toasted with LV Wenho. Duke, why did you suddenly come to Worry-Free City? LV Wenho asked after finishing his glass. I have nowhere else to go. Wang Sheng laughed. I almost killed Patriarch Dai Sheng from the Dai family, and I tricked Dai Xiao and Patriarch Dai Hao. I am afraid that they will chase after me, so I came here to lie low. At the same time, I want to see if your cultivation has improved. Why? Duke, do you want to learn from me? Before LV Wenho could say anything, Ling had already stood up. She pinched her fingers impatiently, and a series of cracking sounds could be heard. It was not right for a little beauty to threaten someone like a burly man. Wang Sheng looked at Ling, and couldn't help but shake his head. No hurry, no hurry. I will know when Patriarch Dai, how from the Dai family attacks worry-free city. There is no need to act now. Ling was exasperated, but she couldn't do anything. She could only stare at Wang Sheng hatefully. She snorted and stood beside LV Wenho, feeling wronged. Her young master is the best. She knew that this Duke Chongsheng wasn't a good person from the moment she met him. Maybe they won't come. LV Wenho smiled at Wang Sheng. The patriarchs of the various families haven't touched worry-free city for a long time. At most, they would pass by. They have never disturbed the peace of worry-free city. I know a few big secrets of the Dai clan's patriarchs, the most deadly kind. Wang Sheng shrugged. If they don't want others to know, I'm afraid they'll definitely come. This time, it was LV Wenho's turn to smile bitterly. Since Wang Sheng had already made it so clear, it was obvious that the pressure from the Dai family's ancestor would come as scheduled. If they were to hand over Wang Sheng, would they still be able to maintain the reputation of carefree city? If he didn't hand it over, he would probably be the one to face the Dai clan's ancestor. Your aura is different. Wang Sheng opened his mouth and asked, she should have given you some pointers in the past 6 months. 12 levels? LV Wenho nodded silently. Although they hid it well, there was no point in hiding it in front of Wang Sheng, who knew everything. That's about it. Wang Sheng nodded and said, Old Taoist Ling, Su can fight Dai Sheng on his own. There are 2 of you. If there are 1 or 2 other experts, it shouldn't be a problem for you to deal with Dai Hao. Do you want me to help you? Trust me, if we cooperate well, it shouldn't be a problem to get rid of Dai Hao. Wang Sheng's first sentence made LV Wenho and Ling fall into deep thought. However, when he said to cooperate, LV Wenho was shocked. He immediately rejected, please don't. It wasn't a problem to heavily injure an ancestor in a one-on-one fight. After all, it was a one-on-one fight. There was nothing to say if one's skills weren't up to par. However, if a few people surrounded them, and Wang Sheng ambushed one of them, it would be a huge problem. Out of the 2013 stage ancestors, there were 19 of them now. They were naturally a loose alliance. At this point, they could use their cultivation and seniority to be the emperor of the entire world. How could they allow a junior to challenge their dignity? If they killed Dai Hao in such a big way, Carefree City would probably have to face the combined attacks of the other 1813 stage ancestors. Let me handle it. LV Wenho couldn't help but feel a headache coming on as he looked at Wang Sheng's interested gaze. Wang Sheng was definitely doing this on purpose. He was definitely taking revenge. Yes, if the ancestor of the Shi family is killed, both Miss Lin and you'll be in big trouble. LV Wenho couldn't let Wang Sheng be so happy. He immediately thought of a way to retaliate. He smiled at Wang Sheng and said, What you said to the butler is useless. Why do you say that? Wang Sheng asked. Everyone will think that it was Miss Lin who did it. The smile on LV Wenho's beautiful face became even more beautiful. She has the most sufficient reason. What reason? Wang Sheng asked cooperatively. To help you vent your anger. LV Wenho smiled mysteriously. Don't forget why you entered the 1,000 Despair Grounds for the first time. Why did he enter the 1,000 Despair Grounds? It was because Wang Sheng met the Gan family's suicide soldiers who were trying to steal the Shi family's precious treasure map. A few of the younger generation of the Shi family wanted to kill Wang Sheng to vent their anger, so they were forced to escape. Although there were people from all the families who chased after him, it was obviously not wrong to blame this on the Shi family. So, everyone will think that it was Miss Lin who did it. LV Wenho stared at Wang Sheng with a smile, wanting to see his anxious gaze. This reason was enough for people to firmly pin the murder of the Shi family's ancestor on Lin Xiu's head. However, LV Wenho wanted to see Wang Sheng's expression of worry for Lin Xiu, but it didn't appear. It doesn't matter. Wang Sheng's face was calm, as if this was not a big deal at all. She won't care. Not to mention one member of the Shi family. The number of people from all the families who died in her hands is definitely more than 2,000. How much difference does one more or one less make? Even if it was her, so what? If it wasn't her, wouldn't those ancestors look for her? LV Wenho was speechless. His reason for suspicion was very strong, but Wang Sheng's reason of not caring was even stronger. LV Wenho's attempt to see Wang Sheng's worried expression did not come to fruition. After receiving Wang Sheng's warning, LV Wenho and Ling only ate and drank at Wang Sheng's place before leaving in a hurry. This area had long been sealed off. Other than Wang Sheng and the people who should know, there was still no one who knew LV Wenho's other identity. Wang Sheng settled down with a clear conscience. Anyway, if there was any trouble, Worry-Free City would come forward first. It was impossible for LV Wenho to give up on Worry-Free City. The various parties in the world also needed a place like Worry-Free City to buffer their relationships. After settling down, Wang Sheng could finally relax completely. He pondered over how to consolidate his cultivation base after advancing, as well as the cultivation technique needed to open all 1,024 acupuncture points. There was another big problem that needed to be solved, and that was Dai Zhao's source spirit. Wang Sheng still needed to completely digest and fuse with it. Before escaping from the Dai family, Wang Sheng let the big Tao Dai swallow Dai Zhao's source spirit in one gulp, but this did not mean that Wang Sheng had already digested the other party. This period of peace was just enough for Wang Sheng to completely solve Dai Zhao's source spirit, not leaving a trace of future trouble. Chapter 1547. At this point in time, basically all the forces under the heavens already knew that Wang Sheng arrived at Carefree City. At the same time, everyone also knew that the Shi family no longer existed overnight. All parties immediately became lively. The destruction of the Shi family let all parties see the terror of a super expert. Previously, the Shi family was such a terrifying colossus, but because the Shi family's old ancestor perished in one day, even if they had a legendary expert, they were like decorations, killed cleanly. In less than 7 days' time, such a colossus collapsed with a loud bang. The shock to all parties was simply subversive. Regardless of whether their families had old ancestors or not, the upper echelons all began to silently ponder this problem. If even one of the 8 great families like the Shi family could not protect their family's safety in this era, then who else could? One had to know the Shi family had a super old ancestor existence. Lin Xiao's threat was immediately placed at the top of the list. It was still all right without a super old ancestor, but those forces with super old ancestors all began to be cautious. Everyone knew that if Lin Xiao, the #1 expert 500 years ago, really wanted to take revenge, the first to bear the brunt would definitely be them. With Lin Xiao's pride, she absolutely would not move against those forces without a super expert first. Of course, apart from Li Zhenlane, that female old ancestor of Triumph Palace. As long as she protected Meyer and Rosa, they all well, Lin Xiao definitely would not have any killing intent toward her. This point, everyone was well aware of it. It was just that no one would openly say it. Apart from this, there was another point that all parties were alarmed about, and that was these super old ancestors. Apart from Lin Xiao, if talking about who could still harm a certain super old ancestor, it was probably the super old ancestors of other families on the same level. Right now, everyone could still live in harmony because of Lin Xiao, this common enemy. If there was really such a day, and Lin Xiao was gone, perhaps all parties would need to consider whether or not the world had to rearrange the ranking of family forces. For a moment, the news of Wang Sheng arriving at Carefree City was suppressed instead, becoming not so important. If not for Wang Sheng still being related to Lin Xiao, perhaps this news would even be overlooked. This kind of moment where one's family might be on the line of life and death at any time. Who would pay attention to who escaped to Carefree City? Wang Sheng was of course happy and quiet. The pressure was shouldered by Lu Wenho of Carefree City. He just had to cultivate quietly in Carefree City. It was also time for Dai Zhao's soul to be digested. Dai Zhao's source spirit left Dai Zhao's body and became very quiet. Without anyone controlling it, it seemed to have lost its instinct to devour and obediently stayed in the big Tao Ye's stomach. However, Wang Sheng knew that this was only on the surface. Dai Zhao's source spirit had an evil instinct to devour each other. It was quiet now because there was no blood. Wang Sheng clearly remembered the scene of him crazily devouring a drop of blood in the lake. Fortunately, Wang Sheng's origin soul had been collected by Wang Sheng before, so it could still change according to Wang Sheng's will. When Wang Sheng calmed down, the big Taodai spat out Dai Zhao's source spirit. Once it was free, Dai Zhao's source spirit seemed like it was going to do something. Like an explosion, it suddenly scattered, turning into a bunch of small source spirits. Each one was incomparably fierce as they surrounded the big Taodai, wanting to play a game of ants swallowing an elephant. Carefully counting, there were exactly 99 source spirits, which was the original number of carp source spirits in the past. Originally, Wang Sheng was hesitating whether he should refine all the source spirits at once or split them up. After all, splitting them up would not affect the integrity of the original source spirits. This was the plan Wang Sheng was leaning towards, but he had never thought of how to split them up. He did not think that Dai Zhao's source spirit would immediately react instinctively without his control and split them up. What was Wang Sheng thinking about now? Let's split them up one by one. Hong, in an even more exaggerated manner, the great Tao Tai directly split into 2048. Every 20 surrounded a Yuan soul, completely separating them from each other. There was no way for them to gather together again to form a whole body. Immediately afterwards, the remaining 68 small Tao Tai directly picked a source spirit. Adding on the 20 small Tao Tai that surrounded the source spirit, they all opened their small mouths and crazily swallowed. They did not directly bite, but rather opened their small mouths. Like a giant whale sucking in water, the spirit chi in the small source spirit's body seemed to be crazily sucked in by 88 powerful water pumps, flying into the small Taoyi's mouth. The small source spirits that were trapped in the middle did not have the slightest bit of strength to struggle. The source spirits that they had encountered before were all stupidly stupid. Moreover, they were in Dai Zhao's source spirit space, so they had the absolute home advantage. Now that the situation had changed, not only were they being suppressed in an away game, they were also facing a Taodai that far surpassed them in quantity and quality. In order to prevent his own source spirit from being swallowed by Dai Zhao, when Wang Sheng was in the second realm, he had completed the Taodai transformation in order to let his own source spirit's swallowing ability reach the pinnacle. After the promotion to the Legend Realm, the Taoyi's ability had long been much stronger than these source spirits. White lines that were visible to the naked eye condensed from spiritual energy entered the mouths of the little Taotai. The bodies of the little Taotai shrank little by little as the spiritual energy decreased. Not only that, along with the extraction of spirit chi, the originally terrifying and malevolent body also began to change. First, the sharp thorns on its body slowly became smaller and smaller, and finally all of them retracted back into its body. Next, the incomparably malevolent scales on the surface of its body also began to soften and disappear little by little. The incomparably strange shape became regular little by little, and finally, little by little, it returned to the appearance of the carp that Wang Sheng had first encountered. At this point, Wang Sheng let the 88 small Taotai around the carp stop absorbing spirit chi, and his own consciousness also slowly approached that small carp. After entering the inescapable net of the 88 small Taotai, Wang Sheng's consciousness could clearly feel that the small carp had an invisible connection with him, a kind of indescribable familiarity. The small carp was very docile, just like an ordinary small carp, slowly shaking its tail, swinging its fins. Its two cheeks were flapping, its small mouth opening and closing, just like a real carp swimming in the space of Wang Sheng's source spirit. There was not the slightest bit of the bloody malevolence of crazily swallowing. Wang Sheng's consciousness touched the small carp, and the feeling of flesh and blood became more and more obvious. The small carp seemed to instantly become one with Wang Sheng. This kind of feeling was exactly the same as when Wang Sheng first collected the carp's source spirit. This familiar feeling made Wang Sheng startled. Was this collecting the source spirit? What about the original source spirit? Chapter 1548. As his consciousness left the carp's body, Wang Sheng sensed it carefully. The original spirit was still there, but there was an additional carp. It was simply magical. What surprised Wang Sheng the most was that when his consciousness left the carp's body, there were a few faint traces of blood seeping out of the carp's body. Once these traces of blood appeared, they immediately dissipated and scattered into Wang Sheng's spirit space. Wang Sheng instantly understood that these traces of blood should be a part of the drop of blood that he had sprinkled into the lake back then. No wonder the carp had a flesh and blood connection with him. It turned out that there was his own blood in its body. It was Wang Sheng's first time hearing that there were two spirits in his spirit space that were connected to him. But the truth was in front of him. Wang Sheng didn't believe it at all. He was just surprised. After being surprised, Wang Sheng didn't care about commanding the little Taotai to devour the other spirits. Instead, he tried to give back spiritual energy to the carp. The spiritual energy that he had just absorbed was spat out from the mouths of the little Taotai and returned to the carp's body. The carp's body was getting bigger and bigger. Its color was getting darker and darker, gradually turning into a golden color. Wang Sheng's current spiritual energy was so vast that he could accomplish what Wang Sheng needed a few months to do in just a moment. Not only that, the golden carp directly jumped over the dragon's gate and turned into a dragon's kiss, just like when Wang Sheng was cultivating in the past. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth appeared in the sky out of nowhere and crazily rushed into Wang Sheng's body. The people of Carefree City were stunned and looked in the direction of Wang Sheng's courtyard with incomparable astonishment. If it was just a random person breaking through, it wouldn't be strange. It might not happen every day in Carefree City, but there would always be someone breaking through every few days. But in that direction, in that courtyard, wasn't it Wang Sheng? Didn't Wang Sheng already enter the legend realm? Then what was going on now? LV Wenho and Ling'er also noticed the changes in Wang Sheng's residence. However, they were even more confused. This aura was obviously not the aura of someone advancing to the epic stage. No matter how surprised the people outside were, everything went smoothly on Wang Sheng's side. The spiritual energy of the world had given Wang Sheng enough external help, allowing Wang Sheng to smoothly inject the extremely pure spiritual energy of the world into little Qi Wen's body. Then, he watched as little Qi Wen grew bigger and bigger, turning into a Taotai. Wang Sheng had experienced this process twice, so he was very familiar with it. He did not need to deliberately control it and completed it easily. Of course, this was also thanks to the almost endless spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It was crazily pouring in, so Wang Sheng did not have to worry about the lack of spiritual energy. At the same time as the Taotai transformation, it triggered another drastic change in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Before the previous spiritual energy of heaven and earth was cut off, new spiritual energy had already joined in, and the aura was also becoming more and more powerful. Little Carp's original soul was the same as Wang Sheng's previous changes. It completed the Taotai transformation, learned to split, gather, and then began the Qi Wen transformation. After the Qi Wen transformation was the Fu Qi Wen transformation. After the Fu Qi Wen transformation was the Pu Lao transformation, the Bai Wu transformation, the Qianyo transformation, the Bai Wu transformation, the Yazi transformation, the Jiao Feng transformation, and finally the Jiao Tu transformation. It could be said that the little Carp's origin soul had completely repeated Wang Sheng's previous path of cultivation as a single carp. In the sky, there was an endless stream of spiritual qi of heaven and earth madly surging in, supporting Wang Sheng's second origin soul's cultivation all the way to the same level as his first origin soul. The entire Carefree City was dumbfounded. It was silent. Everyone was watching and feeling the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in Wang Sheng's residence. They could not imagine what Wang Sheng was doing and how he did it. LV Wenho and Ling'er could not believe it. Wang Sheng's aura had actually reached the 11th realm under their eyes. This cultivation speed was simply unbelievable. But the truth was right in front of them, so they had to believe it. What was even more surprising was that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had refined his body for 10 days and 10 nights. It was completely beyond everyone's imagination. The epic realm was actually this shocking. Fortunately, even though the second original soul had advanced, the acupoints in Wang Sheng's body did not increase. Otherwise, there would be nothing else in Wang Sheng's body besides the acupoints. But this did not mean that there were no changes in the acupoints. Every time the original soul changed, Wang Sheng's acupoints became tighter. The Tai Chi yin-yang whirlpool also sped up, and the spiritual energy became more condensed. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth that enveloped Wang Sheng's residence finally stopped, allowing the people in Carefree City to let out a sigh of relief. However, many people also began to comprehend the aura they felt. After all, this was the advancement of the epic realm. It had an irresistible attraction to the surrounding people. In this world, how many epic realm experts were there? After waking up from the advancement process, Wang Sheng had a puzzled look on his face. He had never heard of anyone in this world having two original souls. Moreover, both of them could advance. If he was not careful, Wang Sheng might have once again created history. While making up for the losses during the cultivation process, Wang Sheng concluded, the reason why he could advance his second original soul to the epic realm in 10 days, besides the fact that it was Wang Sheng's second time cultivating, the fact that this original soul had already reached the legendary realm was also very important. Dai Zhao's gift would definitely make Wang Sheng satisfied. He did not know how many original souls Dai Zhao had absorbed during the cultivation process. Otherwise, how could his original soul advance so quickly? The Carefree City still looked very peaceful. Wang Sheng was too lazy to pay attention to what was happening outside. If there was, the housekeeper would have informed Wang Sheng during these 2 days. Since he did not inform them, it meant that the Carefree City was safe. Therefore, Wang Sheng only rested for 2 days before he made his preparations and began cultivating again. Before this cultivation, Wang Sheng had made all the necessary preparations. He had a storage ring in his mouth so that he could replenish himself at any time. He could also eat a mouthful of monster meat at any time to replenish his strength. This way, he would not become weak after each advancement, and the recovery time would be shorter. This was a trick that he had learned when he unsealed the icicles in the Carefree City. Entering the origin soul space, the second original soul also turned into 2048 little Tao Dai. Now that the little Tao Dai had doubled in size, the remaining source souls had less and less power to resist. They obediently allowed Wang Sheng to extract their spiritual qi, allowing them to return to their original carp forms. With the previous experience, Wang Sheng could be said to be familiar with the process and directly collected the 2 carp original souls. Just like the first one, when Wang Sheng successfully collected the original souls, a few strands of blood seeped out of the carp's body and dissipated in Wang Sheng's origin soul space. This was originally Wang Sheng's blood, so it returned to Wang Sheng's body. The people of the Carefree City only enjoyed 2 days of peace before they were shocked by the huge spiritual qi coming from Wang Sheng's courtyard. Again, it can't be. Chapter 1549. No one knew what Wang Sheng was doing, and no one knew how Wang Sheng did it. How could a person continuously trigger the heaven and earth spiritual qi for no reason? Could it be that after Wang Sheng advanced to the epic realm, he started a charge for the next realm? It wasn't impossible. It was said that Old Lord Temple's old ancestor Ling Su was in the 12th stage realm, which was only 1 realm lower than those old ancestors who had unlocked the seal. It was also said that old ancestor Ling Su and Dai family's old ancestor Dai Sheng were evenly matched, and both sides suffered heavy losses. Could it be that Wang Sheng had also obtained old ancestor Ling Su's true inheritance and was able to charge for this realm? Impossible? How is that possible? He just advanced to the epic realm. How is that possible? LV Wenho was almost going crazy and almost roared out in the city lord's residence. Looking at Linger, who was equally confused, LV Wenho almost wanted to hug her in his arms and ravage her to calm down his irritable mind. Linger also had a look of disbelief. She really didn't want this to be true. But the heaven and earth spiritual qi was close at hand in Wang Sheng's residence, not far away. They could completely feel and enjoy the nourishment of the spiritual qi within this distance. How could this be fake? Perhaps there was another explanation, and that was during the short period of contact between Wang Sheng and Lin Xiu. Lin Xiu taught Wang Sheng some magical cultivation methods. One must know that LV Wenho and Linger broke through the epic realm in less than half a year under Lin Xiu's guidance and entered the 12th stage realm. Since they could do it, then Wang Sheng, who Lin Xiu gave unreservedly, could also do it. The heaven and earth spiritual qi this time was denser than the previous time. It was the same from low to high, but the auras seemed to be twice as dense. On this point, LV Wenho and Linger were not wrong. This time, Wang Sheng promoted two little carps at once, and the consequence was that the heaven and earth spiritual qi doubled. As a result, all of the top experts in Carefree City had gathered outside Wang Sheng's mansion, carefully sensing the aura of Wang Sheng's advancement. They were trying to comprehend the changes in it bit by bit so that they could use it as a reference for their own advancement. In the innermost area was a group of legendary experts. Some of them were from the worry-free city itself, while others were experts from various families who had spent a large sum of money to purchase a spot. LV Wenho was indeed a good businessman. Although he didn't understand, he wouldn't let go of the opportunity to make money. It wasn't easy to feel the aura of an epic expert's advancement at such a close distance. Everyone had to pay a high price for it. The surroundings of Wang Sheng's mansion had already become a spectacle of the Carefree City, with a large number of people sitting cross-legged around it. Everyone was looking at Wang Sheng's mansion. Although no matter how they looked, there were only walls and doors in front of them. They seemed to be watching with relish. It was as if Wang Sheng's courtyard was performing the most beautiful play in the world. They couldn't take their eyes off it, afraid that they would miss a single thing. At this time, no one dared to disturb Wang Sheng. Anyone who moved would become the enemy of so many experts. LV Wenho and Linger sat in the city lord's mansion, which was closest to Wang Sheng's courtyard. They felt Wang Sheng's aura as they watched everything with vigilance. Wang Sheng lived up to everyone's expectations and persisted for another 10 days. The aura also went from low to high, making people feel as if they had experienced the cultivation process of going from unranked to the epic realm. Everyone benefited a lot from it. In particular, the legendary experts who were close to the epic realm seemed to have a very clear reference for their future cultivation. LV Wenho and Linger once again went to Wang Sheng's mansion. They couldn't understand how Wang Sheng was able to mobilize the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to cultivate every time. However, this cultivation method was so tempting that they couldn't help but want to know. If every cultivation could mobilize the spiritual qi of heaven and earth like advancing, how high would the cultivation efficiency be? Even 12th-stage expert would be drooling. I can't say. Wang Sheng shook his head. It has something to do with the secret of the Dai family's old ancestor. If you don't mind, I can tell you the truth. I don't care. However, do you dare to listen? Previously, Wang Sheng said that the Dai family's old ancestor would definitely find trouble with him because Wang Sheng knew a big secret of the Dai family's old ancestor. Now it seemed that the big secret was this unique cultivation method. If it was an ordinary secret, LV Wenho would definitely nod his head. However, this was different. There would be too much commotion during cultivation, and it couldn't be hidden. If any news were to spread, the Dai family's old ancestor would definitely come looking for him. He had no choice but to consider this carefully. Whether it was Wang Sheng or LV Wenho, both of them were a little suspicious. Wang Sheng had been in Carefree City for almost a month, but there was no movement from Dai Hao. Wasn't this a little too strange? Could Dai Hao be trying to save Dai Xiao? Wang Sheng pondered to himself, but he didn't dare to confirm it. Another thing was that Wang Sheng had been in Carefree City for so long. Besides LV1 Ho Linger and the butler, no one else came to look for Wang Sheng. Whether it was Mayor's side, the Imperial family, the Dao sect, or the Song family, none of them came to look for Wang Sheng or to meet Wang Sheng. Mayor had the old ancestor's support now. How could she not even send a letter? It's a small tacit understanding between the various families. LV when Ho answered Wang Sheng's question directly. They only know that the Carefree City Lord has contacted you. No one from the other powers intends to contact you to prevent other families from misunderstanding you. The princess should have been stopped by the old ancestor of Triumph Palace. The old ancestor doesn't dare to express his stance before he understands the situation clearly. There is some logic to this, but it couldn't stand up to scrutiny. Lin Xiao's enemies were so at ease to give her time to recover. LV Wenho didn't mind when he saw Wang Sheng's doubtful look. He added, "Of course, there's no lack of people who want to use the news of you being here to bait that person out. As long as she meets up with you, perhaps the various families will act quickly." This reason made sense. Wang Sheng nodded. He had the same suspicions, and LV Wenho had the same thoughts. The possibility was very high. The problem was if even they could think of it, how could Lin Xiao not? Would she still show her face? Thinking of Lin Xiao's proud personality, Wang Sheng answered with certainty in his heart, "She will." Not to mention the secret surveillance of the various families, even if there was a mountain of daggers and a sea of flames in front of her. If Lin Xiao wanted to do it, she would do it without fear. Speaking of this, Wang Sheng missed Lin Xiao again. He didn't know where she was now, what places she had seen, and whether she saw a different world from 500 years ago. This is Carefree City? Very interesting. Just as Wang Sheng was silent, a silver bell-like voice rang out. Wang Sheng, LV Wenho, and Ling heard this familiar voice at the same time. Their bodies all trembled as if they were struck by lightning. Chapter 1550. This was Wang Sheng's residence in Carefree City, which was right next to the City Lord's residence. When LV Wenho came here, he had already asked his men to clear the area. Within the surrounding 100 meters, other than Carefree City's top exponents guards, there was no one else. The minute an enemy attacked, those top exponents guards would definitely send out a warning at the first instance. But when Wang Sheng, LV Wenho, and LV Wenho were chatting, none of the guards sent out any signals. Even if there were no guards, Wang Sheng's epic grade cultivation, while LV Wenho and LV Wenho were both 12th-stage realm top exponents. The number of people who were able to approach them soundlessly while they were chatting without them noticing, there were no more than 25 people in the entire world. Of course, Lin Xiao was absolutely the strongest among these 25 people. At this moment, she was standing prettily in Wang Sheng's courtyard, sizing up the surroundings as she looked at this courtyard with interest. At this moment, Wang Sheng's heart was so elated that it almost exploded. Looking at the pretty figure, thinking of the frail scene when she had just been unsealed from the ice pillar, the smile on his face blossomed, and following that, he couldn't hold it in any longer as he pounced over like a cannonball, pulling Lin Xiao into his embrace, feeling extremely elated. LV Wenho and LV Wenho stared dumbfoundedly at the fairy-like lady who had a supreme position in their hearts being hugged by Wang Sheng, this boorish fellow, as they simply couldn't believe their own eyes. This kind of godlike lady could actually be profaned in such a manner? But LV Wenho and LV Wenho didn't see the scene of Wang Sheng being pushed away or subdued. On the contrary, Lin Xiao's smile was like a flower, and one look, and they could tell that it was a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. What was Wang Sheng's identity exactly? How could he possibly have such a close relationship with a top exponent from 500 years ago? How were these ordinary friends? They were obviously lovers. The problem was Wang Sheng, this fellow, from the time he appeared till now, it had only been a short period of less than 10 years. So how did he get to know Lin Xiao? Thinking of how no one knew Wang Sheng's background in detail, LV Wenho even suspected if Wang Sheng was also someone from 500 years ago. Really blind. LV1Ho and LV1Ho, who were in shock, suddenly heard Wang Sheng's voice as they hurriedly raised their heads. Wang Sheng and Lin Xiao were already standing opposite each other, hand in hand. Other than the smile on Wang Sheng's face, there was an expression of dissatisfaction toward LV1Ho. When you and eldest Miss LV1Ho are intimate, do you wish for me to watch by the side? LV1Ho immediately asked LV1Ho. LV1Ho. When you and LV Ling Sheng is Ling LV Ling LV's face. She finally understood that Lin Xiao, who was by Wang Sheng's side, was definitely not his match, so she endured it. But her face had already turned into anger from embarrassment, totally not showing any good expression towards Wang Sheng. Sorry, LV1Ho immediately understood and hurriedly raised both hands. I understand, disappear immediately. Saying that, he pulled LV1Ho, and the two of them left speedily. Remember not to send anyone to spy on us. Wang Sheng's words came from LV1Ho's back. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Don't tempt us to break Carefree City's rules. LV1Ho's figure paused as he almost fell head first. What was called tempt them to break Carefree City's rules. Even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't dare to let anyone spy on Lin Xiao. Previously, when Lin Xiao was recuperating for half a year, they let LV1Ho and LV1Ho see what a real top expert meant. He just said a few words of advice, and they benefited a lot, directly breaking through to the 12th stage realm. If such an expert were to take action, how many people would be left alive in Carefree City's inner city? Don't worry. Before LV1Ho could reply, LV1Ho had already taken the initiative to reply. Facing Lin Xiao, no one could maintain their superiority in terms of status, cultivation, or seniority. Young Mistress Ling could be arrogant in front of Wang Sheng, but she was as obedient as a little rabbit in front of Lin Xiao. Very quickly, the two of them disappeared, and they also took the initiative to close the courtyard door. Very soon, sounds of experts retreating could be heard. LV1Ho and LV1Ho were very efficient. Wang Sheng was still smiling. He pulled Lin Xiao to sit down and couldn't wait to ask about her recovery. Before she could reply, he took the initiative to use his 8-words formula to check on her. Apart from paying attention to the condition of his origin soul, Wang Sheng had used the previous 2 times he had tempered his body with the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Now, he could easily use the 8-words formula, which used 2 words as the main body. One was the main confrontation formula, which was prepared to disrupt Dai Hao's mental state. The other was the dimension formula, which he had only recently practiced. This was to fully unleash the radar function of the dimension formula and to discover enemies in advance. Now, the dimension formula could be used to check on Lin Xiao's recovery. Lin Xiao immediately discovered what Wang Sheng was doing. An extremely weak wave of spiritual qi was about to check on her body. After understanding Wang Sheng's intention, Lin Xiao voluntarily gave up resisting and showed Wang Sheng her body's condition. In just an instant, Wang Sheng frowned. Lin Xiao was actually injured, and it was a new injury. How is that possible? At this moment, who could hurt Lin Xiao, who was in peak condition? Her injuries weren't serious. One of her ribs had a slight fracture, but it wasn't a big problem. She would be fine after a few days of rest. Wang Sheng didn't say anything. He directly used a few 7-words formula to help Lin Xiao recover. Lin Xiao enjoyed it very much, especially when she leaned into Wang Sheng's embrace and felt his care. It was more comfortable than when so many people worshipped her 500 years ago. It was so comfortable that she wanted to sleep. Where did you see? Wang Sheng asked curiously. Once Lin Xiao's injuries were healed, she bade farewell to Lu Wenho and the rest, saying that she was going out to take a look. She must have seen quite a lot of places. A lot, Lin Xiao replied with a smile. In front of Wang Sheng, she didn't have to put on the airs of the #1 expert in the world and didn't have to think about so many miscellaneous things. It was very comfortable. In terms of chores, Lin Xiao knew almost nothing. On the contrary, Lin Ling was better than her. First went to Beijing, went to see her collection of hundreds of beauties, Duke Chongqing residence, then went to see Runzi Workshop and Dream Workshop. As she spoke, Lin Xiu raised her hand to show Wang Sheng the clothes on her body. This was taken from Dream Workshop. Pretty, right? Of course. Wang Sheng laughed and praised sincerely. You're beautiful to begin with. Wearing this, you're even more beautiful. Then between me and Princess Yongning, who's prettier? Lin Xiu was very satisfied when she heard this and beamed. Suddenly, her eyes rolled and she asked, compared to Miss Song Yan, who's prettier? Wang Sheng was taken aback when he heard this question. Why would Lin Xiu ask such a question? But Wang Sheng instantly understood. You're not Lin Xiu. You're Lin Ling. Chapter 1551. Lin Xiu was a cultivation maniac. Why would she think about going sightseeing? Why would she think about buying beautiful clothes? Why would she think about asking Wang Sheng these kinds of questions that men must kill? So, this must be Lin Ling and not Lin Xiu. Hearing Wang Sheng's question, Lin Ling's pupils flashed with red light and disappeared. Although her temperament didn't change much, her gaze clearly became much sharper. Lin Ling is just playing with you, don't mind. This time, it was Lin Xiu who spoke. Wang Sheng could completely feel her unique and familiar rhythm. How did you get injured? Wang Sheng asked again. He didn't understand what kind of enemy could injure Lin Xiu. Lin Ling did it. Lin Xiu didn't care. It was just a slight fracture of a rib. She didn't even feel it. Plus, there was Wang Sheng helping her recover. It was not a big deal. Lin Xiu even knew how she did it, but she didn't say it. Wang Sheng just understood. Lin Ling seemed to always think of a lot of strange things, such as that ridiculous thought of asking him to kill her. Luckily, this time, she was much more cheerful and didn't ask Wang Sheng to kill her. This was a good thing. As for the slight fracture in Wang Sheng's eyes, it wasn't a big deal either. You're recovering well, Wang Sheng said to Lin Xiu seriously. Back then, when she just came out of the ice formation, Lin Xiu's condition couldn't be worse. She only had one breath left and was still alive. It couldn't be compared to her lively appearance now. That Lu Wenho really put in a lot of effort. Lin Xiu replied in an old-fashioned manner. He and that female attendant beside him are not bad at all. Their aptitudes are excellent, and they're just a few years older than you, but they've already cultivated to the 12th stage realm. I've interacted with them many times, but I actually never knew that their cultivation level was that high. Wang Sheng also smiled bitterly. This was not the first or second time he had met LV Wenho. It could be forgiven that he did not understand what cultivation was the first time they met, but after so many encounters, he had not discovered LV Wenho's cultivation. This was his own inadequacy. Of course, this was also the strength of LV Wenho and Ling Er. Their method of concealing their aura is indeed superb. Lin Xiu nodded in agreement with Wang Sheng's words. I was only able to ascertain their cultivation when my injuries had stabilized and I had more or less recovered. Then, I gave them a few pointers. And then they advanced? Wang Sheng asked with a smile. Lin Xiu nodded her head and praised once more. His comprehension ability is superb too. If not for us, these old fellows, he should be an outstanding talent among the youngsters, right? Wang Sheng originally wanted to use old Taoist Ling Su as a rebuttal, but when he remembered that Lin Xiu was talking about young people, he went with the flow and nodded. From this perspective, LV Wenho was indeed the most outstanding one. On the other hand, you suddenly advanced again without saying a word. Lin Xiu shifted her gaze, and the topic returned to Wang Sheng. Her tone was a little surprised. To be honest, Lin Xiu had only discovered Wang Sheng's cultivation after such a long time, even though she was so close to Wang Sheng. Before this, she had always thought that Wang Sheng was at the legendary realm. Other than the instant when the new carp's soul advanced to the epic realm, Wang Sheng would never reveal the aura of the epic realm. It was even more impossible to tell from his physical body. It was only Lin Xiu. Under normal circumstances, if it were someone else, they wouldn't be able to tell. Of course, Dai Hao and the others had witnessed Wang Sheng's advancement with their own eyes. Wang Xing didn't want to fight with LV Wenho for this outstanding talent among the youngsters. Although Wang Sheng had started more than 10 years later than LV Wenho, what was the point of fighting with Lin Xiu by his side? If they really had to compete, who could compete with this beautiful lady in front of him, whom Wang Sheng knew how to coordinate with every movement and look? I was lucky. Wang Sheng tightened his arms as he hugged Lin Xiu and said humbly. He lowered his head and looked into Lin Xiu's familiar eyes. It was a beautiful scenery that he had seen countless times in his dreams. Wang Sheng really wanted to spend the rest of his life just like that. They leaned against each other and remained silent for a long time before Lin Xiu said slowly, Do you know, I've been waiting for this moment for 500 years. How could Wang Sheng hold himself back when he heard these words that were filled with deep emotions and looked into her beautiful eyes that were as deep as the abyss? He suddenly lowered his head and kissed Lin Xiu's rosy lips. His yearning for her for so many years burst out like a tidal wave. The instant their lips touched, Lin Xiu closed her eyes and was similarly immersed in a volcanic eruption of passion. Everything happened so naturally. Naturally, when the conditions were right, success would follow naturally. Even in the matters between men and women, the two had never practiced it before, but they still had that kind of tacit understanding. Any one of their actions could be known by the other party. That kind of hearty feeling was something that Wang Sheng had never experienced before. At the final peak moment, the 4 origin souls that Wang Sheng currently possessed started to tremble together. Even Wang Sheng's body involuntarily trembled nonstop. In the end, even the entire origin soul space started to tremble along with it. His origin soul clearly had some extraordinary changes. That kind of feeling was like yin and yang harmonizing. Then, Wang Sheng instantly understood. His origin soul was the transformation of the dragon giving birth to 9 sons. In essence, it was a dragon belonging to Yang, and Lin Xiu's origin soul was a phoenix belonging to Yin. The two intersecting, this was a proper auspicious sign of dragon and phoenix. Boom! In the origin soul space, there was a wave of resonant bell ringing. The 4 origin souls that had unified realms suddenly gathered together, turning into a larger and larger Jiaodu than Wang Sheng's original origin soul by several times. Immediately following that, countless heaven and earth spiritual qi started to pour into Wang Sheng's body. Advance again, just like that? How is that possible? Even though Wang Sheng knew that he had 3 more origin souls these few days, and moreover he had been soaking in heaven and earth spiritual qi to cultivate. But wasn't this speed a little too fast? In the next moment, Wang Sheng understood that it must be Lin Xiu who did something. Otherwise, for an 11th-stage realm to want to advance to 12th-stage realm, it absolutely would not be so simple. Didn't you see how long Lu Wenho used? Didn't you see how long old Taoist Ling Su used? He wanted to stop it, but at this time, it was already too late. Since that was the case, then Wang Sheng would not waste Lin Xiu's good intentions. He decisively guided the heaven and earth spiritual qi and started the final transformation of a dragon, giving birth to 9 sons, the Jiaodu transformation. Countless clouds enveloped the huge Jiaodu once again. The heaven and earth spiritual qi poured into Wang Sheng's body like tidewater. Carefree City's experts discovered to their shock once again that there was actually heaven and earth spiritual qi gathering over at Wang Sheng's residence. Moreover this time, it was denser and more massive than any other time. That powerful aura which practically engulfed the heaven and earth. Some people with lower cultivations even started to shiver unconsciously. Chapter 1552. This is? LV Wenho was in the city Lore Manor. Lin Xiu coming to Carefree City, he did not dare to leave easily, even if he was beaten to death. But when he felt this powerful aura, LV Wenho also could not help but be in disbelief once again. Somewhat bewildered, he turned towards Ling Er's side. LV Wenho immediately saw Ling Er's even more horrified gaze than his. The two people exchanged a glance, for eyes were all filled with unconcealable fear. How long had Lin Xiao only been in Carefree City for? Putting it bluntly, at most it was just the time to be intimate with Wang Sheng once, right? Wang Sheng suddenly advanced just like that. This time was not like the previous two times. The process from low to high could let people distinguish very clearly. The moment he started, it was the aura of 12th stage realm. LV Wen Ho and Ling both had the experience of advancing before, so they were naturally able to distinguish it right away. 12th stage realm. When Wang Sheng undid Lin Xiao's seal, he had just advanced to the legendary realm. It had not even been a year's time, and Wang Sheng directly charged for the 12th stage realm. Just nice. Those big and small experts in Carefree City were simply overjoyed. It was a once-in-a-100-years encounter. Within a month, they could feel the experience of advancing from unattainable all the way to 12th stage realm. Was there anything that made those cultivators happier than this? Compared to the living demonstration here in Carefree City, what did those cultivation holy lands in the core region of Thousand Despair count as? Lifeless aura, and still needing to comprehend it themselves. Where was there such a flexible and ever-changing example that made people more tempted? When Wang Sheng was still tempering his body with heaven and earth spiritual qi, the news had already spread throughout the world. Many people were wild with joy, but many people were grief-stricken. Of course, even more people were thinking of another matter. Wang Sheng, this person, created miracles every time. He could not be left alive. If they continued to let Wang Sheng develop, who else could suppress Wang Sheng's strong rise? Just Wang Sheng himself was already incomparably headache-inducing. There was even an added public enemy of the world, Lin Xiao. In other words, Wang Sheng's development time was short, and Li Zhanfang's rise was short. If Wang Sheng was given enough time, even if Wang Sheng was given another 10 years, the 8 great clans would have to bow down to him. Right, it was no longer the 8 great clans, but the 7 great clans. If they didn't plan ahead and get rid of Wang Sheng, the Shi family would become the next family's example. While Wang Sheng was calmly enjoying the process of tempering his body, there was finally a huge commotion in Carefree City. Ever since the assassination attempt on Wang Sheng's life in the worry-free city, no one had dared to make a move on the inner city. Today, someone had made a move in the inner city of worry-free city. The ones who made a move were Gon and Dai, family's 8 ninth stage realm top exponents, and their target was none other than Wang Sheng, who was in the midst of accepting the heaven and earth's spiritual qi to temper his body. Their aim was to kill Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng couldn't be left alive. There was no need to talk about the feud between the Dai family and Wang Sheng. Other than the fact that Dai Hao and Dai Xiao didn't kill Wang Sheng not long ago, which could be considered as a peaceful method, the rest were all life and death enmity. Dai Huan, Dai Si, Dai Wuji, the Dai family's patriarch and grand elder, the thousands of guards in the Dai Kingdom's palace, and the Dai family's top exponents who died in the ground of 1,000 devastations. All these were the reasons why Wang Sheng had to die. This didn't even include Lin Xiao. Moreover, Dai Hao and Dai Xiao didn't kill Wang Sheng. However, their intention was to devour Wang Sheng's soul, and they didn't have any good intentions. As for the Gon family, they didn't lack any reasons to make a move. The simplest and most direct reason was that the Gon family's top exponents failed to assassinate and kidnap Wang Sheng's old Taoist Ling Su, resulting in compensation of a few 100 million gold coins. This was enough to make them hate Wang Sheng to the core. If Wang Sheng's cultivation was higher, would he still be able to take some gold coins and laugh it off like he did in the past? Furthermore, the Shi family's destruction was rumored to be related to the Fengxiang mental cultivation technique. Back then, the Gon family and the Shi family had also split the rare treasures. Who knew if Lin Xiao would vent her anger on the Gon family because of this? If Wang Sheng was clear-headed, he might immediately think of the agreement that Gon Qingchuan and Dai Hao had reached. There had to be a conspiracy behind it. However, Wang Sheng was still tempering his body with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. He didn't care about what was going on outside. However, Wang Sheng didn't care about what was going on outside But that didn't mean that Wang Sheng didn't know what was going on outside. Right now, there were 4 essence souls that Wang Sheng was advancing. However, there were still 96 in line waiting to advance. The 96 little carps had already been collected by Wang Sheng and returned to Wang Sheng's drop of blood. They had all become Wang Sheng's essence souls that were waiting to advance. During the advancement, these little carps weren't idle. Perhaps 1 or 2 mediocre little carps wouldn't be able to let Wang Sheng participate in the battle during his advancement. However, the 96 essence souls combined could still let Wang Sheng pay attention to what was going on outside. Wang Sheng could clearly know that there was a fight outside. At this moment, he could hear and hear. He was just too lazy to open his eyes. Lin Xiao was beside him. Even if the remaining patriarchs gathered together, they might not be able to hurt a single hair on him. Why should he care? Lin Xiao didn't move. There was no need. The 8 experts who wanted to rush into Wang Sheng's courtyard had just pounced out with the explosive array stones in their hands when they were submerged by the surrounding crowd. Powerful explosive array stones. This was what they learned from Wang Sheng. The explosive array on the heavy arrows was extremely destructive. It also inspired many people to research this kind of explosive array stone that would explode after a few seconds of spiritual energy was injected. For Wang Sheng, who was tempering his body with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, 1 explosive array stone was enough. If the advancement process was disturbed, the best outcome would be the explosion of the acupuncture points and qi deviation. If it was serious, they would die. No matter what the result was, they could accept it. They had no choice but to use 8 9-stage realm experts, who asked the people in front to be legend realm experts of Worry-Free City. Those who were not in the 9th-stage realm had no chance to be in the second row. Wouldn't it be even more hopeless to make a move? Once they made a move, the legend realm experts of Worry-Free City immediately injured and killed these people without mercy. Anyone who made a move in Worry-Free City had the right to punish them. However, no one expected that someone would make a move at this moment. So no one blocked those explosive array stones that had been thrown into Wang Sheng's residence. Even if someone blocked it, the array had already started and there was no way to stop it. Without the ability of Wang Sheng's Xing word formula, no one could stop the explosion of the array stones. It's over. Not only the experts who made a move to kill those assassins outside, even LV Wenho and Linger were shocked. Once the array stones exploded, Wang Sheng's advancement was interrupted. Something big was going to happen. Others didn't know, but they knew who was inside. If Lin Xiao made a move with hatred, would there be anyone left alive in Worry-Free City? Boom, boom, boom. Before LV Wenho could think of a way to deal with this almost hopeless situation, a series of huge explosions came from the sky, causing everyone to look up. Chapter 1553. Unknowingly, the exploding formation stones thrown by the 8 experts had already flown into the sky and exploded amidst a large mass of heaven and earth spiritual qi, causing a deafening sound to spread in all directions. But that was all. The 8 powerful exploding formation stones only brought about a loud explosion. The energy of the explosion was instantly swept away by the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual qi, becoming nourishment for the heaven and earth spiritual qi. In front of that kind of heaven and earth spiritual qi, what was a mere explosion? Someone in the crowd slightly frowned. With the cultivation of these people, at such a close distance, no one actually noticed that the exploding formation stones had been sent into the sky. When was it sent up? How was it sent up? And how is it hidden from their various senses? These were all very puzzling questions, and behind these questions, there might be a frightening answer. The people who were paying attention were all legend rank experts. To be able to do this under their noses, it could only be said that among the people protecting Wang Sheng, there was an unimaginable expert. It seemed that Wang Sheng had not seen anyone other than the Lord of Worry-Free City recently. So who else could it be to protect Wang Sheng other than the Lord of Worry-Free City? Thinking about the possibility of bringing about a relentless attack from the Worry-Free City, Even if there was an old ancestor behind them, some experts would still have to think about it. The worry-free city usually made people afraid, but now it had quietly revealed such a deterrent. They could not help but ponder over it. Wang Sheng was completely undisturbed. For a person who could sleep soundly in a battlefield covered in artillery fire, how could a few explosions from so far away be called an explosion? It was just a firecracker. His source spirit was still undergoing the Swanee transformation, and Wang Sheng was still quietly enjoying the heaven and earth spiritual qi tempering his body. Of course, while enjoying, Wang Sheng did not forget to use this rare opportunity to cultivate the 9 secret words incantation. The 8 secret words incantation was practiced one by one, and the efficiency of tempering his body with the heaven and earth spiritual qi was very high. Perhaps it was because he had too many source spirits, but Wang Sheng discovered that the efficiency of his cultivation had greatly increased. Not only that, it seemed that because of the increase in the number of source spirits, Wang Sheng could easily multitask, or even multitask, without being affected at all. After the explosion, Wang Sheng also realized that he needed to quickly improve himself. If someone was scheming against him at this time, it would definitely be a perilous situation when they faced him. Wang Sheng's eagerness to improve was very obvious. Lin Xiao had to face the people of the world, so she definitely needed a helper. The higher Wang Sheng's cultivation was, the more he could help Lin Xiao. This was beyond doubt. Since that was the case, while Wang Sheng divided a portion of his energy to cultivate the 8-word formula, he focused another portion of his energy on the group of little carps. This was such a great opportunity. If he did not take the chance to nurture the little carp's soul, when would he do so? Could it be that he had to wait for his source spirits to increase every 10 days? That efficiency was simply too low. The 96 little carps also began to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in a frenzy. With such rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth, other than nourishing Wang Sheng's body and providing for the horned dragon transformation, it was not a problem at all to nourish the little carps. It was simply too easy for a carp to complete the horned dragon transformation. Almost as soon as Wang Sheng had this thought, a portion of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth flowed into the carp's bodies. Wang Sheng's consciousness saw that there were 96 golden big carps in his source spirit space. The improvement was too fast. The scene of 96 carps swinging their tails and leaping over the dragon gate was simply too shocking. Not to mention Wang Sheng, even the little person with battle consciousness in Wang Sheng's source spirit space was dumbfounded. Wang Sheng was in the midst of advancing from the epic realm to the 12th stage, under the vast spiritual qi of heaven and earth as a backdrop. The aura of the unorthodox stage, one 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 stage, 2 stage, 1 stage, 2 stage, 1 stage, 2 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 stage, 2. Stage 2 stage 2 stage 2 stage 2 stage 2 stage 2. Stage 2 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 stage 2. However, how could Lin Xiao, who was by Wang Sheng's side, not discover it? At her level, the most sensitive thing was the changes in the spiritual energy of the outside world. She had already noticed that Wang Sheng had just completed the horned dragon transformation. It can be played like this. Lin Xiao's eyes lit up in an instant. She looked at Wang Sheng as if she was looking at a peerless treasure. She was so excited. There was still someone in this world who could continuously advance while advancing and breaking through, and it was done at the same time. Even Lin Xiao had never heard of such a thing. This was simply challenging common sense and breaking through the limit. Lin Xiao, a cultivation madwoman who was crazy about martial arts, would not let go of such an opportunity. Without saying anything, She directly reached out and put her hand on the back of Wang Sheng's head. She wanted to observe in detail what was happening. As for whether this would interfere with Wang Sheng's advancement, Lin Xiao was not worried at all. Just when she made a move to send those explosive array stones into the sky, she also clearly saw Wang Sheng gesturing to her not to worry, which meant that Wang Sheng was awake at all, and there was no need to be afraid of being disturbed at all. With her hand on the back of Wang Sheng's head, Lin Xiao's spiritual energy penetrated into Wang Sheng's body, and then in an instant, the two people's origin soul space was connected. Subsequently, Lin Xiao saw the spectacular scene in Wang Sheng's origin soul space. For a moment, even Lin Xiao was also intoxicated and did not even notice that at the other end of Wang Sheng's origin soul space, the little person with combat awareness had begun to tremble wildly. 96 small groups of spiritual energy instantly joined the large group of spiritual energy, forming a huge group of spiritual energy. The principle was the same as the spiritual energy of heaven and earth caused by many people advancing at the same time in the theater to form a large group of spiritual energy. However, wasn't it too shocking for one person to forcefully form a large group of spiritual energy on the scale of hundreds of people? At the beginning, the experts of Carefree City who were watching the ceremony outside did not realize this, nor did they feel it. However, as the small group of spiritual energy continued to grow, it was impossible for the people outside not to notice it no matter how slow they were. In fact, when the small carps completed the Tao Tai transformation and entered the Tao Wu transformation, the experts outside had already gone crazy. Just how many people were advancing? Was it just Wang Sheng? Or were there more than 100 inside? This massive mass of spiritual energy did not just envelop a small area within Wang Sheng's mansion, putting aside the fact that it had enveloped the entire inner city of Carefree City. Even a small part of the outer city was enveloped within it. Everyone in this area could feel the huge, majestic, and unified group of spiritual energy. Whether it was an expert or an enemy, all of them could only use the mentality of a high mountain to devoutly comprehend the aura contained in the spiritual energy, which was suitable for learning in every cultivation realm, and worship it. What was more frightening was that in this almost unified aura, there was an extremely faint aura that could only be detected by legendary experts. No matter who it was, as long as they came into contact with it, their expression would immediately change, and their whole body would collapse. Chapter 1554. This feeling of exhaustion wasn't an illusion. It was something that everyone felt. Furthermore, it wasn't because of excitement, but because of fear. Although it was only an extremely weak strand of aura, it gave off the feeling that it could control one's life and death. In the face of this aura, no matter how strong an expert was, they would appear insignificant. It was as if the other party could crush them with a single finger. As for those who couldn't sense this aura, they were also suppressed by Wang Sheng's rising aura and didn't dare to act rashly anymore. Everyone was filled with anticipation. They wanted to see how far Wang Sheng could break through and whether he would be able to pave a way for them, the newly advanced legendary experts. The various patriarchs were already walking in front, but no one knew how they did it. Only the core members of each family could receive pointers. Wang Sheng's place was probably the only opportunity for these experts who didn't have the support of any major power to observe. Wang Sheng's advancement was still continuing, and the little carps had already advanced to the black turtle transformation. The result of the advancement of his origin soul was that Wang Sheng could split a portion of his attention to do what he wanted to do. For example, he could add in the cultivation of the 8 words formula or the improvement of the little carps. This portion of his attention didn't immediately participate in any matter. Instead, he turned his attention to Lin Xiao's origin soul space. Lin Xiao could see the situation in Wang Sheng's origin soul space through contact with her origin soul space. Correspondingly, Wang Sheng could also see Lin Xiao. This move wasn't exclusive to Dai Hao, but a technique that Lin Xiao had thought of, and Dai Hao had helped to verify it. Speaking of which, Lin Xiao was the originator. At a glance, what Wang Sheng saw was a ball of burning flames burning fiercely in Lin Xiao's essence soul space. Wang Sheng knew that this was the form of Lin Xiao's phoenix, which was at least at the 14th stage. However, the phoenix's origin soul seemed to have curled up into a ball and didn't unfurl, so he couldn't see its complete form. However, even so, Wang Sheng could sense the immense power contained in the burning phoenix, even though he was looking at it through two origin soul spaces. As if sensing that Wang Sheng was observing her origin soul, Lin Xiao immediately controlled her origin soul to move. The fire phoenix unfurled itself from its curled-up state and flew into the air. The giant flame wings flapped, filling up the entire source spirit space. It was at this moment that Wang Sheng discovered that Lin Xiao's essence soul space wasn't as big as his. After all, Lin Xiao had never experienced the experience of a 14-stage realm essence soul forcefully opening up her essence soul space. Speaking of which, perhaps the only person who could match the size of Wang Sheng's spirit space would be Rosa, who had a 14th stage spirit. However, even though Lin Xiao's essence soul space was small, the richness of the spiritual energy simply made Wang Sheng dumbfounded. The entire origin soul space seemed to solidify. It was said that the phoenix was flying, but the dense spiritual energy was more like it was swimming in spiritual liquid. It was elegant and noble, and at the same time, all the brutality was wrapped in raging flames. If Wang Sheng's soul space collided with Lin Xiao's at this time, Wang Sheng did not doubt that his soul space would shatter. The difference in quality was far greater than the difference in space size. This kind of contact with the origin soul space, plus Wang Sheng directly using his consciousness to observe, was much more detailed than using his naked eye to observe. Lin Xiao and Wang Sheng did not put up any defenses and could both see the situation of the other's soul space, which was totally different from Wang Sheng, who used the cloud qi to conceal it from Dai Xiao. It was because he was able to observe more meticulously and clearly that Wang Sheng also suddenly discovered that there seemed to be a place different from the surroundings below Fire Phoenix's ribs. After seeing this point, Wang Sheng's heart sunk. With Lin Xiao's current cultivation, how could her origin soul not be complete? Since there was an abnormality on her origin soul, that meant that her origin soul was injured. Normally speaking, origin soul injuries could be repaired using large amounts of spiritual energy, unless it was extremely tattered. Otherwise, it would be able to recover. But with Lin Xiao's cultivation, how strong could the spiritual energy she brought along be? She actually still had this bit of flaw. It could only be said that the injury on that area was probably not that simple. Recalling that Lin Xiao's ribs also happened to have slight fractures, so if her body and origin soul corresponded, this injury didn't seem to be an easy matter. Perhaps being this close, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth could make Lin Xiao feel a little better. Wang Sheng thought of this method, then added this wisp of consciousness into the little carp's origin soul upgrade process without hesitation. Wang Sheng already had a reference for Lin Xiao's origin soul space and origin soul, but both parties' origin souls were different after all. How his origin soul change still needed Wang Sheng himself to decide. The Swan and Eye transformation was finally completed after 6 days and 6 nights. The cloud qi dispersed, and an enormous tiger revealed its true form. Its entire body exuded an unparalleled majesty, intimidating everything inside the origin soul space. Not just that, the people watching the ceremony outside also felt that kind of supreme majesty and involuntarily shrunk their bodies, as if being crazily suppressed by the aura. Even Lin Xiao was a little surprised. Wasn't Wang Sheng's origin soul a carp? How did it become a giant tiger? She did not know the legend of the dragon giving birth to 9 sons, and even more, did not know that the Swanese appearance was the appearance of a fierce tiger. However, this did not hinder Lin Xiao from understanding the miraculous transformation of Wang Sheng's origin soul. After all, she watched that group of little carps turn into Chi-One, turn into Tao-Tai, turn into Swan-Eye, turned into Possum, turned into something that she had never thought of. Just like her origin, soul, changing from a sparrow to a phoenix, its existence was reasonable. Swan-Eye, shaped like a tiger, like Tsu, extended to cultivation. It enhanced the aura and pressure, and at the same time increased judgment. At this point, Wang Sheng was incomparably convinced. In any case, the instant the Swanee transformation was completed, Wang Sheng was able to split his attention twice as much. Other than setting aside a trace of his mind to pay attention to Lin Xiu's side, the rest of his mind, Wang Sheng directly threw all of it into the aperture acupoint development. With Lin Xiu by his side, moreover, he could replenish food and water at any time. He did not need to worry about not being able to endure for a long time at all. On the contrary, the more heaven and earth spiritual energy was triggered, the more benefits Lin Xiu could obtain. Lin Xiu could not see the opening of the aperture acupoints, but even if she saw it, she probably also did not dare to believe that Wang Sheng's origin soul advancement, this time, would actually bring 1,024 brand new aperture acupoints. Adding the original, there were 2,048. It could completely be said that his entire body was full of aperture acupoints. A giant tiger separated with a swoosh, turning into 4 giant tigers, respectively guarding the 4 corners of the origin soul space, like divine beasts, holding down the origin soul space. With just this, Wang Sheng and Lin Xiu simultaneously sensed that the texture of the origin soul space had another upgrade. What was lacking now was just a massive amount of spiritual energy to fill it up. Chapter 1555. In actual fact, when Wang Sheng reached Carefree City, Ling Long Pavilion's people also coincidentally reached the capital city at the same time. It wasn't that Ling Long Pavilion's people walked slowly, but it was because they had crossed over several thousand mountains and hundreds of rivers before they felt the hardship of trekking. Ling Long Pavilion's top-rated Grandmaster's cultivations were definitely not low, but it wasn't just a few of them. Every single one of them brought along their families, and not to mention that the team was huge. At least more than half of them were in third stage realm and below. Half of them were ordinary people who didn't make the cut. In the past, when Ling Long Pavilion transported things, they were all top-rated top exponents. 9th-stage realm exponents who were proficient in traveling had storage rings, so this route wasn't a problem for them. Under the Starry Nights, they would be able to reach the capital city from the seaside in just a few days' time. But to bring along so many people and a huge amount of resources, it was much slower. As compared to Wang Sheng riding on heavy snow, it was much slower by several times. It was obviously impossible for a large number of people to enter the city, and with so many top exponents. The capital city was currently in a sensitive period, and the news of Sher family's extermination had just reached the capital city. All parties were extremely cautious, as no one was willing to see any accidents. So Ling Long Pavilion's large group of people could only stay outside the city, while Elderly led 2 other elders and Aki into the city. Ling Long Pavilion's insignia was rather useful. Even in the heavily guarded capital city, the moment Elderly flashed his identity, the top exponents of the city gates respectfully invited them in. At this sensitive period, no one was willing to offend this huge figure. Upon entering the capital city, the 4 of them realized that the atmosphere wasn't right. They didn't know that Sher family had already been exterminated and didn't understand the reason for this. But it didn't matter, as they couldn't be bothered as they headed straight for Duke Chongqing's residence. Ling Long Pavilion's elders came to visit, and Mei just happened to be in the residence. Without a second word, she and Rosa personally went out to welcome the 4 of them into the residence. Duke Chongqing's and Ling Long Pavilion's collaboration was very deep, so no one felt that there was anything wrong with Ling Long Pavilion's grandmasters coming to visit Duke Chongqing's residence. Aki's camouflage skills were excellent. Entering the lobby of Chongqing Fu from outside the capital, no one recognized Aki. It wasn't until Aki revealed her true face that Mei and Rosa rushed forward to hug Aki in surprise and joy. They almost screamed out loud. It had been a long time since they heard any news from Wang Sheng. At this time, the news that Wang Sheng had gone to Carefree City had yet to reach them, but they were already anxiously waiting. Wait, don't say it first. Aki was about to tell the two women about her experience with Wang Sheng during this period of time, but she was stopped by Mayor. Wait for a few people to come over. As Aki and the three elders waited in bewilderment, a few more people arrived in less than an hour. One of them was Tantai Yao, whom Aki knew. Another one was a young lady whom she had never seen before. She looked very young, delicate and frail, and her cultivation couldn't be seen through. But since Mayor and Rosa were able to invite her over, she must be trustworthy. The last one was Aki, who totally didn't expect it to be eldest young Miss Song Yen. She had actually been in the capital during this period of time, and the reason why she waited for such a long time was because she was waiting for her. She's not the enemy. Mayor was afraid that Aki might have some thoughts, so she specially appeased Aki. Towards this, Aki didn't let her imagination run wild. When Song Yin was in the underground tunnel, she was the joint leader of the 8 families. If she really had any opinions about her, those hundreds of 9th stage realm top exponents would have dragged her out and skinned her alive. Would they allow her to live till now? That delicate and frail young lady, the minute Mayor introduced her, it gave Aki a huge shock. She was actually the old ancestor of Triumph Palace who had been sealed for 500 years. Moreover, the first thing she said when she entered was to see through Aki's cultivation, asking her in astonishment how she had advanced her 6-star essence spirit. Basically, when they heard that Aki's 6-star essence spirit had advanced, Mayor and Song Yin already had an idea in their hearts. Aki seemed to be a woman who had been accepted by Wang Sheng in his heart, and the two young ladies' thoughts were a little more subtle. But after Aki started to narrate her and Wang Sheng's experiences during this period of time, everyone didn't have so many complicated thoughts as they were all attracted to her. With the 3 elders of Exquisite Pavilion around, the first thing Aki talked about was naturally the experience of Wang Sheng and Aki searching for Exquisite Pavilion together. From how he opened the 8-fold Exquisite Seal box, to how he found the secret place of the Pavilion of Delicacy, to how he convinced the great Grandmasters of the Pavilion of Delicacy, to how he became the Pavilion of Delicacy's master, to how he forged a new weapon, and how he moved the Pavilion of Delicacy. Although they didn't hear how Wang Sheng managed to escape from the various parties' encirclement, but just this piece of news had already made the ladies dumbstruck. Grandmaster Qian was actually the true pavilion master of the Pavilion of Linglong. Moreover, he had personally led a group of people to kill Wang Sheng. After being killed by Wang Sheng, he had actually left the 8-fold Exquisite Seal box, which represented the legacy of the Pavilion of Linglong, to Wang Sheng. All of this simply sounded like a heavenly book to them. Wang Sheng had displayed his might in the Pavilion of Delicacy. He hadn't used the Pavilion of Delicacy's ancestral method to open the secret chamber of the Pavilion of Delicacy with just a bone. It was as if it had happened right before their eyes. Mayor, Rose, and Song Yin were intoxicated by Wang Sheng's story. When they thought about how Wang Sheng had stood before so many great grandmasters and suppressed all their pride, they couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. Now that the Exquisite Pavilion's elders had all moved to the capital, for Mayor, this was simply a gift from the heavens. With the Exquisite Pavilion's coins and the Li Zhanfang's gold notes, it could be said that the entire world's economic lifeline was in the hands of Mayor. Even if the 8 major clans were to complain, with such a huge industry and the Triumph Palace's ancestor, Mayor didn't need to fear anyone. After hearing this, Mayor immediately ordered people to bring the people of the Pavilion of Delicacy into the city. At the same time, she personally accompanied the elders to Old Tai's residence. They were all great grandmasters of the Pavilion of Delicacy, so they must have a common language. As for the Exquisite Pavilion's future, Mayor had already thought about it. She directly renovated the Celestial Workshop and made it the Exquisite Pavilion's territory. After everything was arranged, Mayor returned to the main hall. This time, there were no outsiders in the main hall, Only Mayor, Rosa, Song Yin, the ancestor, Tantai Yao, and Aki. As for the remaining matters, they didn't talk about it in the main hall. When they returned to the rear courtyard, Aki then continued to narrate what had happened. But unfortunately, when LV Wenho appeared, Aki had been unconscious and didn't know what had happened. She only knew that after she woke up, it was Wang Sheng who brought her along to treat her, and then they rushed all the way to the northern wastelands, where they met the Dai family, and finally heavy snow appeared. Aki only knew about the matters on the island. She didn't know how Wang Sheng killed the 13th-stage realm demonic beast, so she told him everything she knew. After listening to her, everyone went silent. After some time, it was Song Yin who opened her mouth to ask, "Aki, what's so good about that woman?" Chapter 1556. Song Yin's words were filled with undisguised jealousy. Even Mayor looked at Song Yin in surprise. Song Yin was a little angry after being stared at by Mayor. She didn't care anymore. She shouted at Mayor, "What are you looking at? If you don't think of something, your man will be snatched away." Mayor smiled sweetly. She was indescribably flirtatious. Aki didn't even see Mayor's smile, but she was already attracted to it. She couldn't pull herself out of it. What's the point of smiling like this every day? Song Yin was even angrier when she saw this. Just one word from her, and your man will obediently accompany her to fight to the death. Why are you still smiling here? But there's no need for your patriarch and the Dai family to plot against me, all right? Mayor's smile faded slightly. She couldn't charm Song Yin in her love rival state. However, she wasn't angry. She only replied plainly. Song Yin fell silent. She knew that Song Lian and Dai Hao had plotted against Wang Sheng, but she couldn't do anything about it. The patriarch had suddenly appeared and snatched everything from the Song family. If not for the fact that he threatened to kill himself, Wang Sheng would have been killed by the Dai family. She had risked her life to obtain a promise that she wouldn't harm Wang Sheng's life. Song Yin had come to the capital because she didn't want to face Song Lian again. At the same time, she was here to discuss a solution with Mayor. However, there was no news of Wang Sheng at all. They were extremely anxious. The arrival of everyone from the exquisite pavilion made Mayor a little happier. However, this didn't lessen the worry in Mayor and Song Yin's hearts. This was especially so when Song Lian told them that Wang Sheng was very cooperative. They couldn't wait to beg the Patriarch of Triumph Palace to help. There's news. Apart from Aki, everyone else had seen this kind of small quarrel many times. Just as the atmosphere was getting tense, the weak Patriarch suddenly spoke. Everyone looked outside when they heard that. Rosa even rushed out directly. Not long after, Rosa returned with a face full of joy, carrying a small bamboo tube for messenger birds. As soon as she entered the room, she said, "The Duke has arrived at Worry-Free City." The girls were overjoyed. As long as Wang Sheng reached the Worry-Free City before the Worry-Free City was breached, Wang Sheng's safety would be impregnable. Although everyone was curious about how Wang Sheng had managed to escape from Dai Hao, they were not as happy as the fact that Wang Sheng was safe and sound. Mayor snatched the piece of paper from Rosa's hand. She took a look at it and immediately beamed with joy. She then handed the piece of paper to Song Yin. After Song Yin read it, she passed it to Aki and quickly passed it to everyone. The atmosphere in the room instantly became joyous. As long as Wang Sheng was safe, everything was possible. "I'll go and find him." Mayor knew that Wang Sheng was safe and could no longer hold back. She wanted to go to the Worry-Free City personally. No, it wasn't just Song Yin. Even Aki and Tantai Yao stopped her. The only one who supported her was probably Rosa. "It's better not to go." This time, it was the weak patriarch who spoke slowly. After the patriarch spoke, everyone quieted down. Mayor also did not dare to disobey the patriarch. He entered the Worry-Free City with great fanfare. It's obvious that he wants to do something. After all, the patriarch was the patriarch. Although everyone understood the logic, it was different when the patriarch said it. "If you all go, you might get in the way. Let's wait for the news and see how the others react." As a woman, The patriarch of the Triumph Palace was more emotional. She did not think that Lin Xiao had done anything wrong because of the hatred from 500 years ago. Moreover, it was true that they teamed up to attack the Lin family. Lin Xiao did not make a move at first, and only fought back when they attacked her. Now that everyone had come out of the ceiling array formation, she did not have many thoughts of chasing after Lin Xiao. Moreover, she had a relationship with Mayer and the others. It could be said that she was the safest patriarch. Most of the women who came from the Triumph Palace did not have any thoughts of competing for hegemony. Therefore, the patriarch did not do anything about seizing power. She just calmly enjoyed everything provided by her disciples and grand-disciples. Seeing that these women were about to do some stupid things because of love, she could not help but speak up. Although she had never seen Wang Sheng, she had heard from so many people that he was an intelligent person who could do what others could not. How could he do stupid things? Mayer still wanted to say something, but she suddenly found that among the silky black hair of the patriarch, a strand of white hair had appeared. She was startled and did not say anything more. She obediently did as she was told. She would stay in the capital and settle the pavilion of delicacy first. Then, she would expand the Lijian lane again. The better her side developed, the less she had to worry about Wang Sheng. Sure enough, the news that followed proved that the patriarch's judgment was correct. Wang Sheng was also restless in the worry-free city. He continuously triggered the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. All the experts could no longer understand what Wang Sheng was doing. However, when someone interfered with Wang Sheng's advancement, Mayer could not hold it in any longer. She immediately gave the order that Lijian Lane would offer a huge reward for the identity of the person who interfered with Wang Sheng. If anyone dared to touch Wang Sheng, she would dig them out. Wang Sheng was very comfortable now. The continuous spiritual energy of heaven and earth was crazily opening new aperture points for Wang Sheng. Just this time, it had been more than 10 days. There were a total of 1,024 new aperture points. If Wang Sheng had not completed the Swanee transformation and developed his brain again, he would not have been able to control it all. Of course, the advancement of the 96 little carps also allowed Wang Sheng to divide his attention to control the advancement of the little carps. Before waiting for Wang Sheng's new aperture points to be completely opened, the little carps had all reached the level of Jiaodu transformation. Wang Sheng's soul origin space was already filled with soul origin. The entire soul origin space, because of the crazy absorption of spiritual energy during this period of time, plus the presence of the four Swanee, was becoming more and more solid. Although it was not as good as Lin Xiao's, it was already much better than the previous situation. The vague clouds also began to slowly show signs of turning into liquid. However, the spiritual energy was still not enough, and the cultivation was not enough, so it could not complete that step. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was still continuing, but had already reached the final juncture. At this point, Lin Xiao could see it. Those experts watching the ceremony outside also saw it. Even so, it was enough for everyone to be shocked. This time, Wang Sheng's advancement took a total of 18 days. It was unprecedented, and there was no one who could do it in the future. It made people unable to not be convinced. The experts watching the ceremony had a huge harvest. To experience the complete process of an epic rank expert advancing to the 12th stage realm at such a close distance, it would absolutely allow them to avoid numerous detours in their future cultivation. Seeing that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had already started to slowly dissipate, this meant that Wang Sheng was going to complete his advancement very soon. Everyone could also go back and comprehend this experience. But all of a sudden, the winds and clouds changed. An even thicker spiritual energy of heaven and earth suddenly gathered in this direction, as if it had gone berserk. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.